Hi, I'm Sarah Vittora McLaughlin Antithesis. Every hour, a human is successfully mind-controlled somewhere in front of a screen. They suffer, alone and terrified, waiting for someone. Please, say you're the answer for these innocent, suffering human beings. They need your help, and this is your chance. Make no mistake, just $1 a month from you. Yes, you. Becomes more than finances. It becomes action and intention behind a movement combating misused occult forces and giving a voice to those unheard by too many. Your support on any level becomes greater energy and raises frequencies. Even simple reviewing and sharing of the show. It's about energy and willingness. Grimerica.com/support.
Let's talk about Jesus Christ. There are, of course, an earthly Jesus Christ, and there's a heavenly Jesus Christ. When we talk about the heavenly Jesus Christ, we are going into the realms of astronomy and astrology.
Okay, guys, welcome back to the Grimerica show. We're going to be chatting with Michael Feeley a little bit later from across the pond about all sorts of conspiracies. He kind of ties it all together. He kind of came out of the blue, so it's a fun one. And of course, we got a longtime friend of the show, Bill, came to the studio. He's in town, so he's going to join us for this intro. And of course, we got the one and only in his tight little shirt there, Graham Trapman Dunlop. How's it going, buddy?
I'm okay. Good.
Are you good?
Yeah. This was a good episode with Michael.
Yeah.
I think he connects a lot of dots. Some sort of like esoteric investigation and ancient mysteries and occult stuff and Christ consciousness and
did he say
Bible codes and
that's right.
He's back in the scene. Like I think he took a little bit of time off, but one of these guys that's had sort of some downloads and some experiences with interdimensional or ET type things, and he's just flowing full of information now, and it really does make you wonder.
Yeah, you get burnt out. Probably need a break.
But he's back at it. So this is kind of we expedited the release of this episode because he's talking in the UK. He's got a couple big talks coming up, and this for
he
UK
mentions
posse.
them in the show, and you'll have them in the show notes, right?
Yeah, they'll be in the show. Well, yeah, they'll be in. Yeah, Phoenix Probe Conference and Glastonbury for sure is the biggest UK alternative talk.
Which might be like
probably next week or maybe even this weekend. I'm not sure.
Hustle up.
It's not too far. UK can drive almost anywhere in 6 hours. So
I wouldn't even think that long.
Yeah.
It's only 65 miles across.
No,
wasn't it?
No, I think it's wrong. Jesus.
It just keeps getting smaller and smaller.
Maybe at the thinnest point.
The UK posse keeps getting bigger. So
yeah.
Actually, now there's a Scottish posse.
Two Scotsmen in there.
Yeah.
Moving in.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to eat that.
So how you doing, Bill?
Doing good. Great to meet you guys in person finally.
Yeah. It's good. Yeah,
great to be here. See the igloo in all its glory.
Yeah, right on. Yeah, it's good to have you. He's here stampeding. How's that going?
It's a taxing event, but it's a lot of fun.
Right on.
It is a good time. I'm gonna go down tomorrow.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
That's good. I was asking Bill if he had tried any deep fried butter or anything like that yet.
Ooh, I'm gonna have to fall off the fucking diet wagon for that.
Yeah, he says pickled deep fried pickled stuff is
deep fried pickled corn dog and what else did I get? Pretty big on the deep fried stuff, but no deep fried desserts yet. We'll hit that.
Yeah.
Deep fried desserts, fucking deep fried cheesecake. Mm-hmm. Oh fuck.
I had a corn dog today at work and it was wasn't cooked.
Yeah, you're
properly.
having fucking gut truck corn dogs.
It was raw.
This is you've gone from like bulletproof coffee fucking lean machine to a fucking gut truck corn dog for breakfast.
And you know what? And I got to get off and I got to get motivated because I'm going to be hopefully playing hockey and I get tournament in a couple months.
Fucking and slamming corn dogs for breakfast.
But I don't see what's so. Just cornbread, right? Cornbread wrapped around a dog. Like,
so it's just a bunch of fucking gluten wrapped around a bunch of fake meat.
Yeah, that's true.
And dunk it in oil, yeah.
You know what? That's the thing. You're right. It's It's carby, gluteny, and fake meat. It's probably not even real food.
When I have breakfast, I have either a fried egg and a half cup of blueberries, or a little more.
What do you fry the egg in?
A pan. Oh, ghee.
Ghee, really?
Ghee or olive oil, one of the two.
Couldn't get the Amish butter up here.
No,
Nope.
it's too bad. Those
Can't bring dairy.
motherfuckers.
Oh, right.
There's a big embargo, the big trade war that's going down.
No dairy?
Motherfuckers. Well, I don't think you could ever do dairy. We've got our dairy fucking locked down up here, and it's a federal offense to transport fucking raw milk on a federal road.
Really?
Yeah.
In Canada, not across the border. You're talking about just in Canada?
Just in Canada. If you got pulled over, it's a federal offense.
Yeah,
just for
that's
driving.
It's bad in the U.S. too. Some places clamp down on that. Yeah.
You don't have to eat that mic.
All right.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, get right up in there.
Yeah, fucking milk's a bitch. I'm gonna get my own motherfucking cow. Actually, I'll probably get a goat and do goat milk.
Is that legal?
I don't know. It'll just be for me. I wouldn't be selling it. And fucking hammer that shit down. But so I'll have either that, but a lot of mornings I don't want to have the egg, so I have the coconut yogurt with the blueberries in it. I'll put the blueberries in the coconut yogurt, which I don't think I'm supposed to technically be doing.
I think blueberries okay.
Yeah, blueberries okay. I'm not sure if the cultured, because I think that coconut yogurt, I don't know if it has to sit or not, so I don't know if it would build up any histamines, but
yeah.
It's that fucking 5 minutes, 10 minutes to cook an egg. Sometimes it's 5 minutes probably to cook an egg, but
it's kind of funny how we've swapped over. Like I'm becoming more unhealthy and you're becoming more healthy.
Yeah, I seen
you quit your fucking chips and I got chips at work now. It's just terrible.
Guys, it's a little chip epidemic. Like I see fucking you guys are hammering down potato chips. It's fucking 7:45 in the morning. I'm just like,
I'm not.
No.
I don't.
7:45 potato chips. I'm just like, oh my god, man, it's a fucking epidemic. It's like 4 fucking different big bags of chips open.
We shouldn't eat. Yeah, they're empty though usually.
Yeah, that's right. That's how it goes.
You know what I like lately? Bugles.
Bugles are great.
Oh yeah,
yeah, because they're actually not too bad. Sugar wise, I mean, it's probably fucking GMO terrible corn, but it's not like sugar wise and carb wise, it's not that bad. I don't know about carbs, but sugar wise, it's not that bad.
Yeah, a little bit of carbs is okay. You don't want to be those carbs in the morning are tough though.
You know, on the weekends I'm fine. You know, but I gotta do a fast again or something. Just kickstart everything back into gear.
Just start fucking eating food that's not off that truck. Just try that for a week. I think it's worth it.
Some of it's pretty. I have wonton soup, which should be fine, right? It's got vegetables in there.
So. Maybe.
Well, that's my
maybe the
pizza
wonton
and wonton soup.
Pizza's no good.
I know it, but again, pizza's one of those things. Why is it no good? It's just all the gluten and the carbs.
Lisa
right?
just had a fucking piece. She just had a pizza, regular pizza, the other day for the first time in like a long time, just because the kids wouldn't eat it and she didn't want to waste it. She's like, fuck it, I'll eat it.
She'd love it.
Well, I don't know. I think it was okay, but the next day she couldn't fucking move.
Really?
Fucking laid out. So it's like, yeah, I don't think it's. I think you should try that. I just fucking try not eating food off that truck for a week. See how that goes.
Yeah. All right. I'll cook myself a goulash or something to bring to work.
Ooh, what's goulash?
I don't know, just like a
stew.
Yeah, kind of like a stew. Maybe I was thinking of like just beef, ground beef, and then like vegetables and maybe like a broth, like a bone broth in there, and maybe some rice. Like just
There you go.
Just a big pot of it, and then just eat a bowl of that.
I still eat out a lot, but
can that be any better than what you're just accusing me of?
I go to the Chopped Leaf whenever I can.
Oh yeah, that's good. Yeah, there's some good salad.
And
places.
then if
there's
not,
there's some good healthy fast food places are popping up now.
They're popping up like crazy. And then even if I go to a little restaurant, usually there's like almost every place I go now has a gluten. If I just say I want a gluten-free menu, yep, 1 sec, here you go. I think that made a huge difference. Just trying without that for a while.
I got to do something. Bill and I were talking about it on the way here. He was trying to low carb.
Are you off the keto now?
This week for sure.
This week for sure, yeah. But are you pretty keto most of the time?
More than halfway, probably.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Feels good?
Yeah. Works out pretty good.
Huh.
Do you notice a cognitive difference at all?
That not so much, but definitely energy, don't get hungry, weight loss.
Wow. Yeah, I got to do that.
Fucking keto, baby. And it's good. I don't think you're supposed to be in keto all the time anyway. It's the new research is you don't want to be keto constantly.
Sort of flipping.
It's bad for your heart or something. Yeah.
I don't know about that.
Hey man, I'm just fucking making shit up maybe, but
that
I
could be
think
disinfo from the carb community.
Could be not though.
Just kidding.
Could be not. Like the chiropractor thing on Rogan.
What about it?
Well, he hates chiropractors.
Yeah, I know. But what?
So I know because Scott just flipped on chiropractors. He's like, fuck that. He's like, they fucked me.
Really?
Yeah.
He flipped in the bad way?
Yeah. From going to saying he'll never go again.
Huh. I gave him the prolotherapy information, and he should.
Is that
really
the
try
injections?
That. Yep, he's got to try that, man. It works miracles. Maria's got to go there tomorrow. Her back's all messed up. She's going to go tomorrow, and it's gonna help her 100%. It's covered under naturopathic under our healthcare system.
No,
and I'm going to go for my ankles.
Not fucking under our healthcare system.
No, sorry, under our insurance.
Yes.
Sorry, not our healthcare system. No,
that was bad. That was bad. How much is it? I should go try that.
It's not bad. $140, I think,
for a shot.
Well, no, for multiple shots. Like you can go in for. I went in for my shoulder and my knees at the time, maybe, or something else. There was two or three things, and the guy's pretty good. He'll just in the States, it's different. I think they charge you per shot. Like it's not as economical in the States. It just fixes shit. It fixed my shoulder. Like it's a little.
Was it like your
my
shoulder's
really chronic though?
Popping?
Yeah. But so it's still not 100% because I only went like 2 or 3 times, and it really really helped. And the guys at work it fixed his hip and his groin area and his shoulders better.
Fuck, my shoulder's a mess.
Yeah, you should try it too.
I should try that out.
So that's like injection. There's a freezing thing in there. I don't know what type, and then sugar water.
So it's just a placebo?
No. It helps rebuild the joint, but it's completely different than what the doctors try and get you to do, which is the cortisone shots,
which is no good for you.
No, I think it eventually tears away your muscles.
Yeah, that takes a toll after a while.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to run that by Brisson.
The Prolo, or I'm going to put a link to it in the show notes because I really think that's. I mean,
I'll try it out.
Really seen it
I'd
work.
love to fucking have my shoulder stop fucking bugging me all the time. Yeah. I've been doing the yoga, but that don't. It still just fucking bugs me.
You're doing yoga? Your 7-minute yoga?
No, the 7 minutes of workout. I rarely make it 7 minutes into yoga. I usually make it like 4 minutes into yoga, and then I just end up going and doing my own thing. Which is usually like lying on my back and stretching out, trying to get it so I could put my arms over my head and get them to touch the ground.
Yeah, that mine won't do.
Roll around on the floor a little bit.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I do. Roll it, then I degrade to rolling around on the floor, and because I'm trying to do all this shit and I can't breathe, then so I'm like, okay, I'll just lie in there. I put my arms over my head, and if I breathe it out for like 10 or 15 minutes, they'll go and they'll be able to touch the ground. And I'll stretch it out like that and go.
With my arm and my wrist and my elbow, how bad my elbow is, I can't even my shoulder, my wrist can't. I can't hit the ground with my wrist.
Yeah, so you got
at all, not even close.
So I figured I'll build that into eventually getting better. And I usually start the routines, but then I just I get frustrated and just go to my own.
Go to the phone.
Go to my own thing. Lie on my back and start rolling around on the floor.
Yeah. That's probably better than at least you're moving. I mean, I think that's one of the most important.
And stretching and breathing. Yeah, the breathing technique is good to know. So then I just go and you can feel it. You can feel it on that exhale. You'll get a little more stretch out.
Totally. That's why yoga is so powerful when you're in that spot.
Yeah, man. I wish I could get to the point of doing it daily. I really do. I think it would make a huge difference in a lot of ways. All the stuff that I thought was chronically kind of just you're stuck on, just kind of breaking down like old dynamite fucking. But I think it's just like you don't have to be if you start yoga, and then maybe I can get back to because fucking my flexibility range is pathetic in some ways, man. It's it's bad. I can't even believe it sometimes.
Yeah.
I can't touching my toes without bending my knees was fucking like a decade ago.
Yeah.
And I'm slim. Can't touch my toes.
Yeah, you're slimmer now.
Yeah.
So yeah, we just shoot the shit here in this intro a little bit, and there's a timestamp from if you want to skip
like
through all this stuff. It's
it?
good though because we have Bill here, so it feels like we could just be a little more casual and we can just do our own thing for a little bit here, and then we'll read some listener listener emails and some feedback and stuff like that, and we just sort of do some housekeeping here before each interview or episode really. And yeah, but you can. There's a timestamp in the show notes, and there's also a little fast forward button in most podcast players.
And yeah, 50% of the time.
50% of the time, what?
That I remember to put the
Oh
marker.
no, really? You're not even doing it regularly? Oh my god! See, he's talking about trying to do yoga every day, and he can't even do the fucking the intro.
I know
Thing. I even put a note in the top of every show notes. Timestamp.
The timestamp is always there.
Okay. Timestamp to interview.
And then if you put and marker, that would be a big help.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, perfect. So what do you got for us?
I don't know. I got
Hey, did you know there's a whole synchronicity fucking channel in the Discord just full of synchros?
Yeah, I did. So that's our chats. That's where Bill hangs out a lot too. Hey, Bill?
Love the chats.
Love the chats. So that's grimerica.ca/chats. It's a Discord channel with what's a Discord? What do you call it? Is it a channel? A server with a bunch of channels in it.
This fucking thing.
And there's somebody right now, it's awesome, who's Crypto Funk is putting like magic lessons in there. That's awesome. I sent some to my girlfriend to try and get her to relax her back a little bit. So it was like
I was actually going to try
the relaxation ritual I sent her.
I was going to try that relaxation ritual.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah, I think that's new today.
Yeah. So, yeah, people are putting like post shows in there, pre-shows.
Sorry,
recent shows, future shows.
Stop on by.
I didn't mean to do that.
Stop on by. Head on over to the Grimerica chats.
What else? So, Bill, do you have anything for us? Any feedback or any guest suggestions or anything like that?
I'm looking for a synchro to come up during Stampede, but
okay, yeah.
nothing just yet.
Yeah, you got to let it go. You
did get an anomaly in that picture of the tower yesterday.
Well, the lens flare Mike thinks is a UFO. I just came in and crushed his dreams. And then there was a picture I had of my kid through the glass floor that you can see the balcony of your hot tub pic.
All right.
So our pictures cross streams. But they're from like 6 months apart.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going up there. That's way too high.
Oh, you're not a big heights guy?
No, not that high.
Really?
You don't have to go on the glass floor. It's pretty like if you don't go near that one side with the glass floor, it's pretty like because the whole thing around the outside's probably like that high. It's all encased. Too bad there wasn't a balcony.
It's really not that high of a tower anymore. I mean, it might when you're there and you're looking at all the buildings that are rising up beside it, might not even feel that high.
It looks like there's a sign up that it's 50 years old now, I guess.
Yeah. Oh.
I think there's a picture of me here standing on that building's already way higher than the tower.
They don't. It's funny how they make like the Saddle Dome is how old? 88 was it built? The Saddle Dome in the 80s.
488.
So
the Olympic Saddle Dome.
And they're already talking about tearing it down. You know, we can't even build buildings nowadays that people don't want to tear down after 30 years when the pyramids have been around for 30,000.
Are they going to tear the Saddle Dome down? I thought they were going to keep it and just build another one.
No, I don't think so. But I don't know. I mean, they don't know what they're going to do. But I heard that once a couple of years ago.
Looks like a fucking cowboy hat. They should throw a top on it.
It's just weird. We don't build things to last anymore.
No. Even those high rises, eh?
Look at the Coliseum still standing.
Well, it's in pretty rough shape.
Yeah, it's in pretty rough shape.
Stadiums and stuff, there's too much potential to skim a little on the side there. So.
Right.
I figure it's a big fucking money-making racket.
Mm-hmm. All the municipal funds and stuff. I don't know.
We got to get into stadium building.
So I got some feedback from past episodes. Do you guys want to talk about some Dave Matheson stuff, the Black Budget episode that we talked about?
Ooh, absolutely.
You want to get into that?
And now another edition of the Grimerican goodies by the people, for the people.
So I guess we should probably explain a little bit. This is feedback from our Black Budget feed.
Which most of you never heard.
Yeah, which is just a different feed of some extra content for people that subscribe or donate anything to the show whatsoever, or even they can just send us an email and I'll give you links to
It's
it.
about 3/4%.
3/4% of people support the show.
Yeah, so 3/4 of a person out of every 100 support the show. You
Thanks
could
for
be that.
clarifying that.
Yeah. You could be that 3/4 of a person.
So we are trying to get more support, obviously.
Go to grimerica.ca/support. Sign up for monthly, weekly, yearly, or Patreon today, and that would be just super. That'd help us pay the bills, fix the cords, prep for winter.
Yep.
We're past the cling now, man. We're getting into fucking shorter days.
So this is from Anders, and if you don't want me to say your name, please
Put
something in the subject line, or somebody did in capital letters all the way across it. It was pretty funny recently. Maybe we'll get to that one. So he says, "Hey guys, love the show. I've been a long-time listener and a recent financial supporter. Due to my Black Budget subscription, I feel I'm now entitled to give an opinion on your recent conversation with David, Karate Kid analogy Matheson. I'd like to start by saying I love his work and I own The Undying Stars. Great respect for the research he's brought to the table. That being said, I enjoyed the nuanced position you guys discussed on your recent episode. I consider myself an anarcho-capitalist and have spent the last few years trying to clarify my position on a large array of complex thoughts and philosophies entangled in anarchic thinking. The issues Mr. Matheson has are valid, but I'd like to clarify exactly what I've come to understand about anarchy/volunteerism/capitalism.
Is this from Nathan?
No.
Oh.
First, almost all of anarchy philosophy is based on the non-aggression principle, specifically that no sovereign individual has the right to aggress upon anyone else unless in self-defense. Another often misunderstood idea is that anarchism is no rules chaos system. Anarchy means no rulers, not that there wouldn't be laws, rules, social agreements, contracts between groups and individuals. There would certainly be all the above in a volunteer-based society. Simply, you'd need an agreement with everyone in the group and wouldn't be able to compel individuals with the threat of violence to agree to the laws, rules, or contracts. I thought we kind of, maybe we glossed over that, but I thought we kind of talked about anarchy being not what that sort of, initial reaction to that word is, right? But maybe we didn't talk about it. Maybe it's too. Maybe we've.
I think that's
maybe we felt like we didn't have to,
but I think it's tough. I think Matheson's take is that when you've got the giant corporations, it doesn't matter what you want to vote because they have the stuff or whatever.
Yeah.
Once they start controlling the water and the natural resources.
Yeah.
But we shouldn't spend too much time on.
Right, but I'll finish off the email. So to summarize exactly what anarchism/libertarian philosophy describes is the recognition of the sovereignty of the individual. The individual's right to make their own choices and accept the responsibility of running his or her own life. Obviously, this is a scary proposition for most people. I think it's easier for us to externalize issues and fall back to a collective notion of responsibility. And though we're all in this together, in the end, only you as an individual can affect change in reality. I know it's a long email and I haven't clarified every aspect of anarchy and libertarianism or addressed all of Mr. Matheson's concerns. My experience is many don't fully grasp the complexity of the ideology they espouse, and anarchy is no different. If you guys are interested, there's a poop load of information and resources I can direct you to. Thanks for all you do. Again, love, love, love the show. Anders.
Who?
Anders.
Anders?
Yeah. So thanks.
Anderson.
Yeah. So I asked him for more information.
Send the info.
And I feel like we
could have a volunteerism and
let's do a show on that a little bit, because I really, it does really resonate with me too. But I feel
socialist crime.
I like that. What? Not even close to that. But I did have my period of being.
You're pretty
that as well,
right? Which is kind of Nazi-ish.
What?
Now you're kind of starting to lean socialist.
Hashtag walk away.
Then there's some misogyny flying around.
You probably haven't even heard about the hashtag walk away.
No, I haven't.
Have you, Bill?
Yeah, it's pretty well known in the U.S.
Yeah, it's getting there. Yeah,
that's it. I've never heard of it.
I know you're in your own little world, reading your little self-help books and all that. And
I don't want to
see. That's another thing that you and I did. I left this for about 6 months there, and then I came back, and you leave.
Yeah, I'm good for
It's
that.
weird how
I
maybe
don't
we
need to
just,
know hashtag walk away.
you've already walked away.
I'm fucked away.
No, but I had real socialist leanings, like in the about 10, 15 years ago, I kind of thought, and I was thinking about this lately, after 9/11, I thought patriotism is fucked. I was really at that point where I was like, this is weird. Like these people, and I think it might have been after I knew there was something up about 9/11, and I was like, wow, these guys are reacting like this. And then I was thinking more globally and all that until I found out what that was all about. And now I kind of just walked away. I shouldn't even say that because it's not that I did. But things changed, right? Totally changed. Now I'm more in the middle.
All right.
Right?
Right. I agree. Right. What do you think, Bill?
Bill doesn't want to comment.
I think more middle.
Middle?
Yeah.
Oh, what a fucking suck up.
Well, we all try. They're trying to pigeonhole us all into the thing. That's
I'm
the problem,
pigeonholing
right?
you.
Yeah.
Nazi Graham. Alt right.
Whatever, dude.
Misogynist. Hate crimer.
Trapper.
Trapper. Quite the MO. You got synchro? Actually, let's do this.
Profound UFO quote of the week.
I haven't done this one in a while.
You almost got me.
Almost?
Yeah.
You're too quick.
Yeah.
Quick on the trigger.
I will stress once again that we do not know the source from which the UFOs or the alien beings come. Whether or not, for example, they originate in the physical universe as modern astrophysics has described it, but they manifest in the physical world and bring about definable consequences in that domain. And that was from everybody's favorite researcher, John E. Mack, professor of psychiatry, MD, Harvard University, Pulitzer Prize winning author.
Good one. When are you going to cut from... Remember we were just going to do other quotes that weren't UFO quotes?
Yeah, we can still do that one day.
We should one day.
I'm almost done though.
It's been like...
I got a few left and I'm almost I'm almost out.
You're almost out of UFO quotes?
Yeah.
It's been a long run.
Yeah. So I'll tell you what, when we're finished, we can maybe sprinkle UFO quotes in later with something else. But we still got to do the quote of the week of some sort.
Yeah,
pretty cool.
I'm down with that.
Yeah.
Oh man, I can't wait to get to a different quote than a fucking UFO quote.
I'm gonna have some after this weekend's camping CSETI experience. We're going to the grid. We're going to the grid.
You can't just go to CSETI without the thing.
I'm not reading anything about it. I'm just telling you this.
I know. We'll wait for the jingle. People love this jingle. We can't not play it.
Did the singing bowl and that shit starts happening.
Pow, pow, pow.
We started seeing flashbulbs. Okay. Speakers coming down.
There you go. I'll stop it
All right.
before your name.
And friend Celia, who helps sort of organize the group, has written a book. She's
You're going
finished
this
that.
weekend?
Yep.
Are you still here?
No, Bill's not here. Still,
Oh.
he's here. Yeah.
That's too
otherwise,
bad.
Yeah, you could have come.
Where are you going?
We're going up north to a node. It's like I think it's a what do you call it? The line, the ley line type thing,
You're
or
on
something.
the ley
What?
line. I can
Really?
find you with my drone.
Your drone.
James's
You don't have a
drone.
Oh, you can't. What? No, you can't find us. You don't know where we're going. We do secret communication. You can't find out.
Signal?
Maybe email.
I can't
Anyways,
get into either.
It's going to be. I think it'll be good. Good one this weekend. So.
You guys should go out tonight and see SETI something. Just on the way home.
Yeah, we'll
Should be.
always keep my eyes on the
But
sky.
Pull over.
Pull over. Look up.
Do you want, maybe I should do a couple UFO sightings while we're on the. I got my emails organized into folders, like
Did you?
I promised. Yeah,
How is it? Great?
it's okay so far.
What are some of
Actually,
the folder names?
here, why don't I read this? It's an important message from Dr. Greer.
Oh, God.
No, seriously.
Richard sending out emails?
I'm very excited to read and hear about C5 groups starting all over the world. See, this is
He's
growing.
talking about you. You're one of those CE5 groups.
This needs to be an ever-increasing grassroots movement that lets the ETs know that humans are reaching out to them in universal peace. I just want to be clear that we have no authorized CE5 teachers or trainers. We have learned that some people are organizing CE5 events and charging for them. These are not authorized by me, and the individual efforts are not connected to STAR or Serious Disclosure. The only programs about CE5 that I'm involved in are the ones that I organize and am present at myself. It is purposefully a loose structure of people learning and practicing on their own or in small groups. There are people who in person and on YouTube who are using my name and image to appear to be associated with me. There is no way I can monitor what is said via these groups or videos, and I have no idea if that conforms with what I teach or not. Unless it is an event where I am presenting or the material I have written, I have no way of evaluating it. We encourage people to learn the protocols via our phone apps, the contact training program, or the videos on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/sdisclosure. Yeah, it sounds free. Oh, maybe I can't remember if the app is free. I've had it for a few years. Anyway, so they're saying, material you come across from other places may or may not reflect what I teach and believe. For those of you who are part of CE5 Facebook pages, please share this information on your page. For the thousands and thousands of people doing CE5 and reaching out to the stars in peace, wonderful. If 1% of the planet donates to if 1% of the planet reaches out in universal peace, we can change everything. Keep looking up, and thank you for your support.
If 1% of the planet donates to Grimerica, I don't know.
How about just 1% of our list? I was trying to
start 1% of the listeners.
So he thinks that 1%
break.
He thinks that 1% is that's a lot of people reaching out though. That's like what, like 500.
1% of 7 billion is 700 million. No, 70 million.
70 million. Yeah. No, 70 billion.
70 billion.
No, not 70
No, what
billion.
the fuck? That's 10%.
70 million, I think. 70 million people.
70 million people?
Yeah. That's kind of what I was thinking. 60 million. Well, depending, yeah.
That's like all of the UK.
What do you think of all that stuff, Bill?
Oh, shit.
No
Yeah.
comment.
No comment.
No comment. Wow.
Well played, sir.
Yeah.
He needs a ride.
You do have a nice selection of spam here, though.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, man, are you hungry?
Yeah, got some teriyaki spam.
We got some turkey spam.
So, speaking of spam and Graham, my email address is Graham at Grimerica.com. Send in your spamgram. UFO sightings and synchronicities, feedback.
Send some shit to the P.O. box, too.
I do have a bunch of trip reports from people that are kind of asking if we're not reading those out anymore, and it just really hasn't. It's just been, we go through cycles of talking about certain things. I mean, I will read them out eventually.
They've been lost in your email.
Yeah, and I got to sort some of those things out, but...
Thought you sorted it.
But yeah, thanks for... I haven't gone all the way back and sorted just the current ones.
Well, we should do that soon.
Yeah.
We should do a trip report thing soon.
I could almost do a whole episode on trip reports and listener emails and sightings and stuff.
Maybe we should do a bonus episode
Yeah,
soon.
maybe a black budget one or something like that.
Or just a bonus. I don't think we should do people's content in the black budget. And then they might not even hear it.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, that's got to stay in the regular feed. Yeah.
Anyway, support the show anyway. Grimerica.ca/support. Do we have anything else?
I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, we can get into all kinds of stuff. Depends on, how much time we got.
We got all the time in the world, baby. We're at like 35 minutes, I think.
I could read some more emails. What do you think?
One more. Is it a synchro?
You know what? Here, let's stick with the David.
Synchro.
Let's stick with the David Matheson episode here. It's a bit of a
No more
okay.
Matheson.
Okay.
We should save up all the black budget feedback and address it in a black budget episode.
Sure.
So that the other 99 and a quarter people don't.
No, I think it's important to talk about this in the regular feed so people maybe want to go to the black budget.
Your marketing.
Yeah, trying to market. We don't really have a marketing plan. I mean,
we should do a synchro
you guys
so that
out there.
Yeah, you guys are the marketing plan. So you got to tell your friends, you got to share it on Facebook and all that shit. This would be super. You have a synchro, we could let Bill rate one.
All right. Pretty sure I can figure one out here.
I'm a rambling Graham with synchronicities all over the web. And Darren is skeptical about everyone and don't believe it yet.
Nothing.
Yeah. Just seeing if. Hey guys, my name is Cody. I've been listening for a few months now and pretty quickly became a paying member of your cult.
Attaboy.
Yeah.
Ooh, another cult reference.
There might be a couple synchronicities
If we're
in
a
here.
cult, Graham's the leader, just for the record. Graham's the leader. Graham Dunlop.
There might be a couple synchronicities in here, I hope. But with all the wild shit I've heard you talk about now, I don't hear much drug talk, and that's kind of a synchronicity in itself. Probably a good thing. If you talk drugs on an episode, I will send some of my dad's Vietnam stories. Fucking hilarious stuff. Anyway, I was about 10 years old living in San Diego. I had I had my one and only knock on wood sleep paralysis experience. I felt someone watching me, which woke me up into paralyzed state. In the doorway was the racist depiction of a Native American man. He was painted with the loincloth arrow sheath on his back. I mean, it looked like a fucking social justice warrior's wet dream. I was obviously scared and I screamed for my dad. But when I yelled, the man's hand went up and no sound came out.
Oh.
I got terrified, wanted to cry out, then nothing. I was overwhelmed with peace, no fear. Suddenly I wasn't paralyzed. I was just relaxed, completely focused though. I remember most of the next few minutes. He told me he was not speaking English, but the language we all share. Love, happiness, God, life, death is all one. It is all part of the experience, and to be centered is to be able to traverse all states of mind. Shit. So for a few years, I thought about it on and off, but I never saw this again and gradually stopped thinking about him completely. Until 15 years later, I stumbled across some DMT. I did it several times without much effect, and suddenly my pupils opened up. The only connection between myself and everything else. All went black, then light from everywhere. Bright colors, columns of faces turning, tunnels of energy swirling around me. No pain, no worry, just the center of a black hole. Then there I am. Lotus position. Suspended in space.
What's lotus position?
It's like
Legs crossed?
Yeah.
Legs kind of tied up. Yeah.
Is that like the starting yoga?
Yeah.
Okay. That's a tough one.
He says, lotus position, suspended in space. I am watching myself. Footsteps around me, and a tall, tan man walks to my side and touches my shoulder. I start vibrating and glowing brighter. The voice around me asked if this would be easier, and he became a woman. She was fucking beautiful. And then it all sucked back into my eyes and brain, and I opened my eyes. Awake. My friends already talking about their trips. I don't even want to try and explain my shit. So I think what he's insinuating is that was the same guy.
The Indian
Yeah.
turned into a chick. Good boy.
A couple weeks later, just funny little trips and a couple buddies who didn't have any unusual experiences yet. Until one night, up on a mountain, I overdosed them.
Can you overdose?
Then took my turn. Right away, friend A starts giggling and I can tell he's happy. Friend B, not so much. He starts choking, frantically, saying he needs water, but he's not really awake. And then I'm gone, in space. Fuck, I need help. I'm out of body looking at these three idiots up against some trees, and one is fucking dying. When a woman in deerskin steps over my body, looks up, and is instantly next to me looking down as well. She pulls out leaves of paper and throws them to me. I catch one and read. It was like a poem about water, oceans, emotions, health, and everything is okay. She tells me they see the patterns but don't. And then he says, holy shit, I'm on episode 288 and you just mentioned DMT. Haha, oh boy. As he's typing that. But then they don't know what the patterns represent. I come back to my body and won't open my eyes yet. I need a break. It felt like an hour and I need to just worry about me for a second. I open my eyes and both my friends are staring at me. Friend A, the biggest skeptic, pulled me off the ground and hugged me, apologizing for calling me crazy. Friend B thanks me. He said a Native American friend read a poem to him. Then we all laughed because, you know, how the fuck did all three of us see the same thing? Friend A said when he looked down, we were all part of a grid that connected us to the earth and the trees. I have no idea if I read that poem or what they saw, but it was intense to have everyone on the same page, pun intended, and to meet this spirit guide who now I see a few times per year, especially if my path gets squirrely. I haven't done much DMT since then, but I quit my night job and focused on my HVAC trade, to which I'm now pretty successful with. I quit smoking cigarettes and I made a move on the girl I was in love with. I'm going to marry her in about 2 months. Last trip 2 to 3 years ago. This might be an altered synchro, but to me, it lined up a lot of things in my life. And now I'm a peaceful, open-minded person. Thanks for reading. Love you guys. Can't thank you enough for all the great talks. Cheers from Canada's Jean Shorts. P.S. You don't talk much about hockey. Maybe you're just scared of the Sharks. I'm in SoCal, but I have too much respect for myself to support Kings or Ducks.
So he's a Sharks fan?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
BGK, baby.
What's that?
What was that?
Golden Knights.
Oh, yeah, he is. Bill's a Golden Knights fan.
Vegas Golden Knights, VGK. VGK. Oh, yeah.
And fuck the Sharks, too.
I saw somebody with a hat in the supermarket, and I was like, that's a pretty cool logo. I wonder what that, I didn't even know what's the new Vegas team. I'm such a
dropped off the hockey map, too.
Yeah. Huh.
What are you going to do?
Yeah. So thanks for the awesome email. Well, it was the guy. I think he's talking about it being the guy, the repeating visit of this guy now.
That's tough to rate, Bill. What are you going to do?
Well, it does cover the trip reports category pretty well.
Yes, and even though we just talked about that, and then I pull this up, that's pretty cool.
A little extra synchro rating.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, and then and also the trip report where they all see the same thing. I mean, this is like those shared hallucinations.
Synchro. That's not a synchro.
Well, it kind of is.
No. It could be DMT like that. You're going to get some synchro.
It's a nice story.
You telling me that if us three right now did some DMT and saw the same
we could do that right now.
Vision,
we could do that.
That's not a synchronicity?
You want to do that?
It's probably even deeper than a synchronicity.
Exactly.
I'll watch you two guys do it. Because I know you should be fucking doing that soon. You've been saving up. Yeah. See, this is why I don't partake, because I would never be able to save that up for years.
It's been 1.5 years now.
It's been more than that, probably. I would just be like, just do it and then do more. So I'm proud of you.
Thanks.
When are you going to do it?
I don't know. This summer, I think.
I want a DMT trip report from Darren Grimes.
At some point this summer. Yeah. Or right now.
How about you, Bill? Would you do that?
Probably a bad career move to be doing DMT on a podcast.
We haven't said your last name right. It's just Bill.
I thought the CIA let you do whatever you want.
Yeah, exactly. I thought you were supposed to do that with it so you could actually become part of the club, you know?
Yeah, you got to be a Freemason too, though. I haven't signed up for that yet.
Oh, yeah. I might get into the Freemasonry. Go check it out.
I went to the open house.
Did you?
Yeah.
How was it? Was it in a nice one downtown?
Yeah.
$1 million piece of land.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, they were smart to buy that thing.
Probably fucking more than that. Millions.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I guess we'll wrap it up there.
Anyways, thanks for the awesome email, Cody. Wow, I'm glad to hear you're on your path and all that. It's a fantastic email.
Yeah, congratulations. Hope the wedding goes well. Don't spend a bunch of money on the wedding. Just be in love. All right, guys. Enjoy the chat with Michael Feeley.
Yep.
Thanks for coming, Bill.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here, buddy.
Great to be here.
Enjoy the chat. Michael's a gem.
All right, tonight we've got Michael Feeley with us, all the way from the UK. So Michael was a police officer in the UK for about 17 years, and he's been using this his investigative training, in ancient mysteries and stuff like that. He's got 5 books out on stuff like the pyramids and Stonehenge. And we were connected via a listener, some of our UK posse member there. So to be honest with you, Michael, I haven't had a lot of time to dig into your work, so it'll be one of these fresh interviews, and haven't had a chance to chat with you yet at all. So welcome to the show, and thanks for spending some time with us.
Thank you very much. It'll be a pleasure, and it'll be completely unrehearsed.
That's right. That's the way we like it. And honestly, like after reading your website and your bio and all that, it does seem to be like it's a perfect fit. We talk about all these ancient mysteries. That's a big theme in the show, pyramids and Stonehenge and all those theories. And of course, UFOs is a big one. So, I don't even know where we should start really. I mean, you got a few books out, and you're going to be speaking at some festivals and stuff, or not festivals necessarily, but talks in the UK. Do you want to start off with that or something, or what do you think?
Yeah, certainly. I sort of gave up talking for a while. Sort of come back with a vengeance this year.
Like live or at all, like period?
Sort of, yeah, just completely stopped. And then I'll go out live now, and I'll go around to UK audiences. It started with a vengeance in 2018.
Okay.
And I do sort of talks, and I do big conferences as well. I've got a couple of big conferences coming up in the next few weeks. So it sort of varies in audience size and venue size. But as I say, I gave up for a couple of years, and then for some strange reason, it just came back with a vengeance with lots and lots of new information, and with a great urge to want to go back out on the circuit again. So that's where I am at the moment. So I actually did a talk last night as well, and as I say, I've got a couple of big conferences in a few weeks' time, which I'm really looking forward to.
Right on. Do you want to give us a sneak peek into what you're going to be talking about at those conferences? That's probably sort of your newer stuff, I suppose.
It is. It's a mixture. It's almost like a album, really. I sort of start off with a little bit of history about myself, which was police force and that kind of investigative career, and then I go into details about some of my own paranormal experiences, which is meeting face to face with an ET being, seeing lots of UFOs, seeing dimensional gateways open up in front of me. One of them emanated some kind of craft, being telepathically invited to certain locations to do certain work. Lots and lots of things like that. Seeing famous historical figures in spirit form, like King Charles I. Seeing lots of spirit people, having lots and lots of things. Being requested by a spirit girl from Victorian England to investigate her murder. And actually being taken back in 59 years in time to actually witness the last moments of her life. Jeez. to having her assailant also part of the scenario, who was in our energy field, and he was attempting to possess my body. He was smashing 6-foot double glazed windows inside the house, and there's all this kind of things that were happening around about the year 2009. So that takes up the first part of the talk, and then sort of go into a Bible code, a biblical translation that I've been able to decipher, that tells us who these characters and what these stories really are and what they really represent. And then sort of go into other monuments like Stonehenge. I then go into the Anunnaki Sumerian scrolls, with a completely different interpretation, which is my own. And then I go into ancient Egypt, and then I go into like Atlantis and Lemuria and tell the audience exactly what that represents as well. The Eds of Easter Island, what that represents. And then I go into a more sort of galactic theme in relation to a provable mathematic correlation between the planet Mars and the monuments on Earth, and also certain monuments on the lunar surface of the moon, which correspond as well. So I then go into sort of the correlation between those planets, and that sort of then concludes with the fact that as a human race, we are being completely controlled, we are being completely manipulated, we are being completely lied to, and the tree of knowledge, the forbidden fruit, is the knowledge that these people who are keeping it away from us are holding in sanctity of themselves, which they don't want the public to know about. So it sort of concludes with who those people are, the methods that they're taking in order to keep this information from us. And then it sort of concludes with that kind of thing. So it's really a greatest hits album going back from 2009 to the present day. So it's sort of 9 years worth of my history, but it's also 2,000 to 3,000 years of ancient history that's been concealed from us.
Wow.
It's quite the quite the
album.
quite the greatest hits album. So what are the Easter Island Heads all about? That one's kind of special around here.
Well, all my research, basically, I've been given sort of information as well as researching the information. And a lot of the information inspires me to research because it comes as an idea. And I can actually feel the idea being actually implanted into my head. Now, Easter Island is the same with every other culture that I've researched, from Atlantis, Lemuria, the Bible, Egypt, Stonehenge, the pyramids around the world. All of them are giving us the same esoteric message, which is enlightened consciousness. All they're doing is they're changing the name of the gods, they're changing the shape of their monuments, but they are telling us the exact same message, which is enlightened consciousness, a spiritual awareness of self. The Heads of Easter Island are no different. They're basically telling us about esoteric consciousness, our sort of innermost thoughts, which is the incardinal points. It is the location of enlightenment, illumination, which is the pineal gland, and they're said to be around about 1,000 heads. Well, the number 1,000 is the highest level of consciousness, which is why you see the likes of Buddha with the 1,000-leafed petal lotus flower, because it's all to do with consciousness and the crown chakra. So the Heads of Easter Island are again telling us about human consciousness and how to aspire, how to ascend to what the Egyptians called our God state, which is the connection to the higher frequencies. And that is exactly what Easter Island is telling us, as well as many of all these ancient monuments that I've looked into.
Wow. So can you dig into that a little bit? Like how do you take away the supposed like factual stuff out of all these mythical tales and stuff, like, you know, whether it's the Buddhist or Christ or Atlantis and all that, and bring it to which I think is very interesting, the esoteric consciousness aspect, and how do you link that? Like, how do you take that away from what people think is like a true story and compared to what is now more of like an analogy to higher consciousness? Like, how do you make that link or those leaps?
Well, what I've done is I started off purely spiritual because of all the things that I was experiencing were of a spiritual nature, and then now I've become more into the world of science. And what I've been able to do is I've been able to marry science with spirituality to have a happy medium in the middle. What people need to realize is that there are a small minority, historical people through to the present day, that are initiates of secret societies, who are initiates of mystery schools.
Mm-hmm.
These brotherhoods, these fraternities, have a vested interest in keeping knowledge that they consider a privilege and not a right, not a general right. They have a vested interest in keeping this knowledge to themselves, to the brotherhoods, to the chosen initiates. And what they've done in replace of that, they've given us myths and legends and idols and icons, and they've given us allegorical and metaphorical stories in order to cover up a greater truth, so that people look at the superficial level of these stories, the likes of Christ and the likes of Mary Magdalene, and they believe that they found the truth in these iconic figures, but they are mythical representations of a deeper esoteric truth. That deeper esoteric truth is our own God says, our own Christ consciousness, which is each and every one of us. So each and every one of us on earth today and previously and in the future, each and every one of us are each and every one of these biblical characters. Jesus Christ, we are all Mary Magdalene, we are all Mary, Joseph, we are all Moses and Noah, etc., etc. We all spend time in the belly of the whale like Jonah, and we all come out after 3 days into spiritual darkness, because it takes the subconscious 3 days to cleanse in order to ascend, hence the reason Jesus was in the tomb for 3 days. There were 3 days of darkness in Egypt. We had Jonah in the belly of the whale for 3 days. They're all metaphorical representations of a deeper esoteric truth that is being kept from the general population. And the general population really do not understand that the world is run by a secret language of codes and symbols and algorithms, which is basically a story with a hidden meaning. So what I've been able to do, for argument's sake, in the story, the biblical stories, I've been able to look at the works of human genetics, and I've been able to attribute, getting into the mindset of the people who've written these stories, been able to attribute that to the workings of human genetics. in terms of the likes of the pyramids of Egypt and Stonehenge and all these sacred monuments, they preceded, that they were sort of the forerunners to a lot of these religious beliefs, and they were telling us the exact same message, how to reach our God state. The Bible calls it the Christ, which is the Christ consciousness. The Egyptians called it their God state. Stonehenge was all about the God-man, which is the connection between man and God. But it's all giving us the same thing. It's all talking about spiritual enlightenment and consciousness, which is an awareness. And that is basically throughout the whole of the ancient world. And that's why I call my talk and other things the ancient code, a serpent fire, because it's a spiritual activation of everyone's dormant serpent fire kundalini energy that awakens the spiritual fire within us. All of these stories, all of these religions, all of these famous ancient monuments are telling us just that. It is the deeper esoteric truth of ourself, and that is what is being kept away from the general population. So I've been able to marry the two by using 17 years of investigative training and finding evidence and piecing all these things together. So I've come up with a code, a
cipher, like
code.
a cipher almost, yeah.
Ciphered because they are really, really deeply ingrained into the monuments, and the things that I've come up with and the things that I've found not being spoken about anywhere else by anyone else that I've found, even though they are part of the way there, even though they have theories that are very, very close to the mark, they are not talking about, or they've not found the hidden codes that I found inside these monuments. So I've been able to piece it together. Being the man in the middle, it makes it much easier to be able to piece all these things together and put them together. Yeah. So whereas some researchers to one monument and they will get to the bottom of what that monument represents, they have not sort of pieced it together to how that relates to other monuments and how that relates to the planet Mars and how that relates to the moon and how that relates to all the other monuments around planet Earth. That is what I've been able to do.
Well, we haven't even had the ability to do that for the longest time. Like now, finally, with the internet and people like yourselves. I mean, that's kind of one of the themes of the show. A lot is the researchers like yourself that are more like generalists that are putting the pieces of the puzzle together, as opposed to just digging into one specific thing. I mean, that's almost like the way we talk. You know, what we do on the show too is like talking about all these different topics. But that wasn't very possible. It would have been a lot harder to do 20, 25 years ago, even. You know.
That's completely correct, and that is like the beauty of the internet. I think 20 years ago we wouldn't have been able to have this interview tonight. So the internet sort of connects the world straight away within milliseconds. The world is connected by the internet. You can actually use that to good purpose for yourself and be able to get to the bottom and make these connections. But even with the last 20 years of the internet, there are researchers out there that still haven't put all these pieces together. But I've managed to be able to do that. But the internet is a wonderful thing when it's used correctly, and you can get a lot of information at the touch of a button.
Yeah, yeah. Do you want to dig into the cipher a little bit more? I mean, I don't want you to have to say the whole thing and all, but you mentioned threes being a key. Is there other little things you can talk about that connect everything together?
Yep, certainly. Again, if the listeners just remember that enlightened consciousness, and when we look at the likes of, let's talk about Jesus Christ. There are of course an earthly Jesus Christ, and there's a heavenly Jesus Christ. When we talk about the heavenly Jesus Christ, we are going into the realms of astronomy and astrology, and the heavenly Jesus Christ, which is the solar sun, which some people are now alluding to. When you have his 12 disciples, they are the 12 signs of the zodiac. So you have Christ in the middle and the 12 signs of the zodiac, which are the disciples of Christ. When you have Christ crucified between the two thieves, that is telling us about the winter and the summer solstice, the good and the bad thief. The winter solstice is the bad thief because he takes the sun away. The summer solstice is the good thief because it gives us the sun. So you have the Christ on the Southern Cross crucified between the two thieves. When you look at the likes of the Assumption of the Virgin, which is the ascension of the Virgin Mary, that is when the sun completely obscures the constellation of Virgo by its light, so it becomes invisible. That is the true origin of the Assumption, the ascension of the Virgin Mary. And all these things, when you look at the zodiac, that is basically Gad, which is the will of God. And we have all of these, the nativity story, where you have the three wise men, which are the three stars of the belt of Orion, following the star of Bethlehem, which is Sirius A. And that points on the 24th of December, the Orion and Sirius A actually align to give us the exact location of where the sun will rise on the 25th of December. On the 22nd, 23rd, and 24th of December, the sun remains in the same degree of sky for 3 days. It is dead for 3 days. On the 25th of December, the sun moves 1 degree north to continue its annual transit. The sun is born on the 25th of December. So astronomically, that is why we have Christmas Day on the 25th of December. When we go before the heavenly Christ, and we start looking at the earthly Christ, that is basically human genetics and the Kundalini awakening of human genetics. And it goes basically from the story, which is the atom and ionic bonding, which is extracting the electron from the atom, which is nuclear fission. That is basically the creation of Eve through the atom, through Adam, in the Garden of Eden, which is the human body. Now, the Bible tells us that Jesus began his Father's work at age 12, which is round about the age of puberty in male children. At that time, we have developed what is known as a solar seed, a Christos seed. Christos means anointed. What that really is telling us, it's all about male fertility, which is male sperm. Sperm means seed, and it is the Christos seed. When we say that Jesus is the Saviour, sperm, seed, Saviour means seed. Now this seed develops in the solar plexus, which is known as Bethlehem. Inside Bethlehem, we have a thimble-sized depression known as the manger. So we have this Christos seed that is born in Bethlehem. So now it's starting to become a little bit familiar in relation to the story. Either side of that manger, you have the Ida and the Pingala nerve that sit either side of the manger, and they stem from the pituitary and the pineal glands of the brain, which is consciousness. The Ida nerve is the lunar nerve, which is Mary. Mary means water, and the moon deals with the water. So we have Mary and Joseph either side of the manger. So Jesus is baptized aged 30, which again is in numerology terms, it's all to do with spiritual and the rise of spiritual power. So Jesus, aged 30, is baptized in the River Jordan. Jordan means to descend, to flow downwards. It's talking about the spinal fluids, where this Christ seed, the spinal fluids contain salt. Salt gives us the word salvation. So this Christ seed, the Saviour, is our salvation. It is in the salts of the spinal. Because of what is known as Kundalini, which is a spiritual serpent fire, which incidentally I've actually seen, it is activated by certain rituals such as celibacy, which is sexual sublimation. That is the retention of sexual energy, which is known as tithing, because the body will reuse, and to reuse to use again is the true origin of the meaning of resurrection. So the body uses 10% of this refined sexual energy, which is where we get tithing. So this Kundalini energy, the serpent of the Garden of Eden of knowledge, it gets activated, and it goes up Jacob's ladder, which is the human spine, taking the Christos seed with it. And the Christos seed goes through what the Greeks used to call the cross, the crossing, which is the optic chasism, which means chamber of light. And this Christ seed is crucified on the cross. Basically, the optic chasism and crucifixion, to crucify one's appetite. So what that is talking about again is that celibacy, that sexual sublimation, the retention of sexual energy, which is crucified on the cross within the brain, which is situated round about there. That then the Christ seed, having been crucified, then goes into the cerebellum for 3 days. The cerebellum is the tomb. It's dead for 3 days. And again, it's all to do with the amount of days it takes for that subconscious to cleanse in order to ascend. Jesus then comes out of the tomb after this 3 days, which is witnessed by Mary Magdalene. Mary Magdalene is the amygdala within the human brain, which is situated by the tomb, by the cerebellum. So she is in the best position to be the first to witness the resurrection, to use again of this sexual energy, the resurrection of the Christ seed. The amygdala deals with different functions, and one of them is libido, which is sexual appetite, which is why in certain circles is classed as a prostitute, because the amygdala deals with libido. So we have Mary Magdalene witnessing the resurrection of the Christ seed inside the brain. The night before that, which is all to do with the Passover, which is the Paschal moon, which goes back to astrology and astronomy, which is on the 14th Nisan, which is April, the 14th of April. That is the Paschal moon, which is basically when the moon is going into Aries, which is the lamb. So that is the sacrificial lamb of the Last Supper. The Last Supper itself comes from soup, which means to enhance. So what we're doing is we are enhancing our Christ consciousness. And the word mensa has double meanings. It means the mind, and it means the table. So the earthly Christ is sitting at the table, which is the mind, surrounded by his disciples, which are the 12 cranial nerves of the human brain. They are all sitting round at the table. All of this, of course, is happening in the skull, in Golgotha, the place of skulls, which is the house of God. So Jesus is crucified in the skull in Golgotha. So we have all of these references, and Jesus died age 33 in the year 33 AD. The number 33 is a significant power number. We have 33 vertebrae of the spine. We have 33 degrees of Freemasonry. We have NASA's launch pad, which is launch pad 33. We have 33 degrees of Masonry. We have 33 vertebrae of the spine. The top one is known as Atlas, which then takes us into Atlantis, which is the same story. But we also have Christ consciousness, which is 33 hertz. 33 hertz is also the frequency that synchronizes sacred geometry, which is why we have 33 degrees of Masonry, because they're all into geometry, divinity, God. So 33, which is the hertz frequency of Christ consciousness. So all of this is Kundalini awakening that takes this Christ seed through various stages of awakening. And as it destroys the lower chakras of the human body, the lower chakras of the human body are known as Sodom and Gomorrah. So this energy of fire destroys by fire Sodom and Gomorrah. So we're looking at all of this biblical. When we look at Cain and Abel, we're looking at Abel, which is our sort of higher nature, and we're looking at Cain, which is the ego. And the Cain and Abel story is basically telling us about the battle of ego, which is trying to kill off our higher nature. When we look at Jonah and the whale, that the whale is symbolic of spiritual darkness, and he's in there for 3 days into spiritual darkness while that subconscious cleanses. As he comes out of the belly of the whale, he's coming into spiritual enlightenment, spiritual light after that 3 days. So when we look at Adam and Eve, we're talking about the atom and ionic bonding, which is extracting the electron, which has a negative charge. An electron has a negative charge, which is why Eve is seen as a negative influence on Adam, on the atom. When we look at the Garden of Eden, we're looking at the human body. The tree of knowledge is the spine and all its nervous system that takes us to the pineal gland, which is the knowledge, which is the forbidden fruit. When we look at Moses, we're looking at the fluid mosaic membrane, which is basically a water-soluble protection around human cells. Mosaic comes from Moses. When Moses walks to the top of Mount Sinai, Sinai also means Habeshan, which means with the teeth. That is talking about eating celestial knowledge, which is the knowledge of the divine. When he's at the top of Mount Sinai and he's speaking to the burning bush is talking about that serpent fire activating the pineal gland, which is the activation of knowledge. It is the Mozilla Firefox of computer terms. When we look at Moses' 40 days in the wilderness, the number 40 has the power to lift you to your spiritual state. When he fed the Israelites with manna bread is really prana, which is a human photosynthesis, where the thylakoid cells of the body convert solar energy chemically into energy of the body. It's a human photosynthesis. That is Moses feeding the Israelites with manna bread. When we start looking at the likes of Noah, which means comfort, we're looking at the child in the amniotic sac of its mother that is basically protected and then comes into a new world post-flood. When we look at the animals live 2 by 2, we're talking about the 4 nucleotides of human DNA that live in base pairs. They live as 2 by 2. And even some genealogists call them the Noah's Ark of chromosomes because they live as base pairs. They live 2 by 2. When we look at the likes of the Ark of the Covenant, we are talking about system that is the human brain. Moses crossed the Red Sea, which is basically the easy transition from inner consciousness to outer consciousness. When the Red Sea parted, that is the membranes, which are protective walls, which open up and allow things to come through, and they close up to prevent things following them. That is the story of the parting of the Red Sea and the crushing of the Egyptian army as the waves came back in. So we have all of these genetic connotations when we look at where these stories began. The story of Adam and Eve was in the book of Genesis. Genesis comes from the gene of Isis, or the genetics of Isis. And when you go back to Egypt, Isis is associated with the mother goddess, the cosmic womb. So we're talking about the Genesis in the beginning, the genetics of Isis. So we're looking at this genetic human connotation, which is whereby we will have this in which to alleviate and ascend ourselves to this Christ consciousness, this higher consciousness. And that really is what the Bible and all these stories are really telling us. So that really is just a snippet of one aspect of some of the information that I've come across. And this is the same message extended to the pyramids of Egypt, to Stonehenge, Atlas, Lemuria, the heads of Easter Island, King Arthur, even Santa Claus. Is all to do with the Holy Colostrum, which is the creation of consciousness within the brain. So we are talking about the same theme, which is enlightened consciousness throughout the whole of the ancient world.
Wow.
And that's all done from withholding your sex energy?
No. That's just a way that's one of the many ways to get your Kundalini fire going. Like
you just have to do that like once?
No, well, I think so. I mean, to activate it, yeah, I think it's only once. I mean, remember,
that gets you, you
can do the breathing. You can do the breathing. No, it's totally different. You can do the breathing, and there's all different ways, right, to get your Kundalini.
Well, you have an erection activated.
What? No, it doesn't have anything to do with erections, I don't think. But
how else are you getting the sexual energy?
It can be. It doesn't have to be through your hard cock. I mean, it can just be through your spine or whatever. Like you can bring
suck it
your
out.
energy all the way through.
But it's going to be recycled.
I don't know. Recycled?
So the 10% of that sexual energy, and it is purely an aid to the alleviation of this Christ consciousness. It's not the only method, but that is where you get the origin of celibacy. But 10% of that sexual, but that 10% of that sexual refined energy is reused for the cells of the body, etc. That 10% is the true origin of what we know as tithing. So giving 10% is really talking about giving that 10% to your Christ consciousness. That really is the origin of celibacy, and that is the origin of tithing. One of many mechanisms in which to activate this dormant serpent fire. This dormant serpent fire actually awaits wrapped around your root chakra. The root chakra is known as the underworld. So this Kundalini dormant serpent energy wraps around the root chakra, around the underworld. That is the fire of hell. So your root chakra, your lowest chakra, that the kingdom of earth is hell. When you start going to the top chakra, which is the 7th chakra of the crown chakra, that is known as the 7th heaven. The 7th chakra is the 7th heaven. So within your chakra system, Sanskrit just means basically wheel of energy. You are looking at hell and heaven. So it is that alleviation from the kingdom of earth, which is heaves up to the kingdom of heaven. So heaven comes from heave up, until you get to your 7th crown chakra. And that really, again, is sort of, even though it's been used as a sort of a blackmailing promise or reward, it is really that the Bible talks about is within. And when the Bible gives you such quotes as the kingdom of God is not something you can physically touch, the kingdom of God is within you.
Yeah.
That is exactly what they mean in an esoteric way. Everybody has the ability to activate this Christ consciousness and become that Christ awareness. Christ and all these Mary Magdalenes and all these characters were never individual people. It is each and every one of us, and that is the deep truth that is being kept away from us by the churches and by all these religions.
Yeah. Thanks for going through all those details. I mean, one or two of them alone might not, be so significant, but when you add them all up like that, it's quite the amount. It is very easy to picture.
That magic number always comes up too.
I know. I wanted to ask you about that 33, but I also wanted to, I don't know. Let's go there then. So 33 is also, it seems to be like a symbol for
something.
The mainstream media, the deep state kind of. When some of these, I don't even, how would you even describe that? I mean, they call it the magic number, whatever, 33.
Magic number.
But it seems to be like if something happens, let's say like a mass shooting or a false flag or an accident,
anything that has 33.
All of a sudden you'll hear in the media 33, like it's almost a signal to a group, like maybe this group you're talking about, that is happening for, I don't know, maybe on purpose or it's not an accident, or you know what I mean, Darren? Is that the way you take it too? It's a signal to? Well,
that's just what I heard on No Agenda.
Yeah, but
that's just one way to look at it, I guess.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, because
it seems to come up a lot. 33, 33, 33, or 333, or 3333, or 33,000, or.
It's basically a power number, and the belief system of these occultists is that certain numbers, certain significant dates, give them enhanced power in which to these events. So, certain you'll see that on the 19th of April, for argument's sake, you'll have lots of sacrifices by fire, because that is in occultism that the 19th of April is sacrificed by fire. So you had the Waco massacre, you had all of these things where people were sacrificed by fire and by different things. They believe that certain dates, certain numbers, give them an enhanced frequency, an enhanced power, and they basically use certain dates to maximize the impact of these events. So they are purely timed to be significant and fall into significance with certain dates and certain times. The number 33 is deeply significant to occultists, to Freemasons, and again to the esoteric. That's why they call themselves the Illuminati, the Enlightened Ones, because inner illumination is all to do with this kind of esoteric knowledge that comes from the angels, what they have access to, but what the general populace never even realize exists. So when these events happen, look at the dates in which they happen, look at the occult calendar, and you'll see that a lot of them are married up to certain dates and certain times for and sort of power, spiritual power, and enhancing reasons.
Yeah, that makes sense. So speaking of, awakening the fire within and the root chakra and the Kundalini and all that, did that happen to you? Did you have a spiritual experience that did that, or was that more of your sort of interdimensional, esoteric ET kind of experiences? Like, is that another way that, you know what I mean? Would you consider yourself in that sort of awakened realm, and if so, what was it that triggered that?
It was sort of all of the above. So when I relived a murder in 2009, and I was taken back to Victorian England, which I basically travelled 159 years backwards in time, taken back to a bedroom where a murder occurred, and I was basically shown the last moments of someone's life, which is the murder that I've been asked to investigate in the modern day. That is what I would classify as my awakening, as traumatic as it was. I couldn't actually sleep with the light off in my bedroom for 6 or 7 months after that event.
Wow.
It was really traumatic. But following that event, that's when I began to start to see other worldly things, begin to see, say, dimensional gateways open up in forests in front of me, in the sky, at night above me, when I used to see lots and lots of UFOs in broad daylight, 500 feet in the air, when I'd be telepathically invited to go to certain locations at night, where I've actually stood next to a being that is not of this world, and started to see what people would deem as shadow people, where my bedroom door at 6 a.m. in the morning was being shook so violently that I just had to get out of bed and see what was happening. And as I walked out the bedroom, there was shadows walking through the bedroom wall away from me. These things, I even last year, less than 12 months ago, was just walking last summer in the UK, and I heard this strange whoosh noise, whoosh sound, and I sort of went into a transient state. But as I turned around to my left, there was an Egyptian pharaoh in full headdress walking alongside me.
Wow.
I was given cryptic messages before I went on vacation to Egypt about how a messenger would find me and how I needed to look past the tourism of Egypt. I needed to learn about her, understand her, and then I needed to teach about her. And 7 years later, that message started to make sense. I was seeing scattered beetles coming out of the wall. I was seeing this Kundalini energy, this liquid chemical fire, which is basically white in colour. White is the colour of balance. And I've actually seen that Kundalini energy actually leaving my body through my left foot across the floor. So it's really all of the above, where lots of ancient information has been given to me, where there's lots of experiences outside of that has activated or flicked some kind of switch inside me that has enabled me to become aware of this deeper truth. So I think what Kundalini awakening is pretty much a increase in bioenergy within the human body. And obviously bioenergy is the body, and energy is the fuel that keeps us going. Some people have a gradual Kundalini awakening, which is a sort of very, very gradual, slow awareness of what is going on. Some people have a very rapid Kundalini awakening, and for them it can sometimes be traumatic because they can suddenly see in an instant lots of things behind the limited 1%.
Yeah.
As human beings, we see less than 1% of the frequency spectrum. So all of the things that we can see, we can touch, we can smell, we can hear, we can feel, we can sense, 1% of reality. So what people need to ask themselves is what is happening in that 99+% that we cannot see, ordinarily cannot see. And when we activate our third eye, our spiritual realm, our consciousness, we can then start to see many of these things in that 99% of the vacuum of space or wherever it is. I've been fortunate enough to see multiple things beyond that 1% frequency spectrum, and that has basically enabled me to have a greater awareness of what is really going on in what we deem as reality, that most people will never be lucky enough to ever even realize. So it's almost like a fortunate position to be able to know these things. And again, in 2009, that pinnacle year for me, I kept getting in my mind's eye a golden key, and I didn't really understand what the golden key meant. Looked into it. Basically means the Gnostic key of knowledge, and Gnostic just means to know. It is the knowledge of the divine, and it's symbolic of worthiness to know the hidden secrets, to come out of this labyrinth of darkness that most people just walk around in forever, and to come out and actually see this wider reality, to be able to piece all of these ancient cultures together and what they're actually telling us.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a real powerful message. And when people come into this information, that it makes them extremely powerful as individuals. And the things that I've actually found out and the things that I talk about now has actually got quite persistent attempts several times by certain Illuminati groups who have attempted to recruit me into their brotherhoods. It's got me sort of private messages from initiates of mystery schools that tell me how accurate what I'm saying actually is.
Wow.
And how it would take many years for mystery schools to come into this level of knowledge. So for some reason, whether that's through being chosen or just being lucky, I really don't know. But for me, there's lots and lots of information coming by the day, and it's almost like being given a different piece of the jigsaw, but it connects to the same jigsaw puzzle as a whole.
Yeah.
And even today, I've been looking into some Disney films like Pinocchio and things like that, which again,
Pinocchio.
Yeah, Pinocchio. So even the most innocent of things, children's famous children's stories, like Frozen, Walt Disney Frozen, like Pinocchio, like all of these things.
Yeah, let's talk about Pinocchio, because I know Peterson's constantly telling that Pinocchio story too. So Pinocchio is probably the most relevant Disney story on the planet right now.
It is. Well, the thing is, again, you're looking at esoteric messages, and when you look into and things like that, which is quite, and Walt Disney was a 33-degree Mason, it stands to reason that there's going to be lots of significant symbols and significant planets that feature in these kind of films. And when you look at Mason, which comes from Mother Sun is basically Sirius A, which is believed to be the mother of the solar sun, which is the Jesus and Mother Mary, Isis and Horus in Egyptian mythology, which is basically symbolic, spiritual significance of these planets. So when you look at the Pinocchio story, and you have the blue fairy, which is significance of the blue haze created by Sirius A, the blazing star of Masonry. When you look at the meaning of Pinocchio in Italian, it basically means the pine seed or the pine's eye. Now, the pineal gland comes from the word pine cone. So the pineal gland, the consciousness, and the fairy is Sirius A, which is believed to be the knowledge from above, but also brings you good luck. Now, when you look at the famous song of Pinocchio, which is Wish Upon a Star, you basically, what they're telling you is to wish upon Sirius A, which is the dog star, which gives you good luck. When you look at his father, Giuseppe, that basically means the Lord will rise. So we're looking esoterically at, again, those words, enlightened consciousness, and it's all to do with Masonic symbology hidden within children's stories. When you look at the nursery rhyme, the hokey cokey, and then the last words are knees bend, arms stretch, rah, rah, rah. That is sun worship. So Ra is the Egyptian word for the sun. When you look at the likes of Frozen, and you look at characters such as Elsa, means she knows. So again, we are referring to knowledge. When she goes to the North Mountain, the North Mountain is basically the pineal gland, which is known as the North Gate, which is why the Great Pyramid of Egypt faces due north, because it's all to do with the pineal gland and the North Gate. So again, even in Disney, Disney comes from D Insigni, which basically are a Merovingian elite Illuminati bloodline that came to the UK and spread out from Normandy in France. The Merovingians are one of the Illuminati bloodlines of France, and Disney, 33-degree Mason, is D Insigni. So Walt means the ruler, and D Insigni is a place in Normandy. So again, it's this Illuminati connection that has been ingrained into his films, into his movies, into his cartoons. So not even children are escaping this esoteric message of knowledge. And again, I go into the pyramids a bit later, but consciousness is significant in Egypt as well as everywhere else.
That's interesting, because like those early Walt Disney movies were super esoteric, like the Magic Math and all those crazy ones.
Yeah.
So I was going to ask about and you kind of mentioned you didn't know if it was luck or external intervention, but what do you think what's your sense of like whether this has happened to you? Because we've had guests on that have been downloads of information. They have a event or a synchronicity or a spiritual awakening of some sort, and then all of a sudden they're doing all this research and they're writing books, and it sounds somewhat similar to yours. And I'm never sure if yours sounds more like it could be something or someone intervening, or is it just you reaching a state of higher consciousness where you're accessing all this information? What do you think? Like, what is your sense of where it's coming from or what's happening? And does it have anything to do with your bloodlines or your as well? Like,
yeah, well, I'm certainly a direct descendant of Irish Celtic kings who are themselves related to the pharaohs of Egypt. So again, there's that sort of Celtic Egyptian bloodline connection with my family and me. I think it's it's probably a mixture of all of those things. I had this traumatic awakening, which flicked the switch inside.
Mm-hmm.
I have been given lots and lots of downloads of information, and I can actually pinpoint when I'm sitting there, and I can actually feel information being injected or impregnated or whatever into my mind. That then becomes an idea inside my head. That then becomes a theory that I will go and research. That then becomes validated by the information that I come across.
Yeah.
That then connects to things that I may have learned 6 to 12 months ago that I thought had no relevance, but all of a sudden it then becomes center stage because it connects to what I've just been given.
Wow.
So there's lots of these things. I used to also channel messages as well, but I stopped myself doing that because I could never really 100% trust as to who that message was coming from. So I sort of closed that down and stopped doing that. But I think it's a mixture of all of those things. I think when you look at, again, inside the King's Chamber, which is 8 hertz, 8 hertz is the frequency that synchronizes both hemispheres of the brain, the alpha waves of the brain. Synchronization of the hemispheres of the brain allows you to tap into universal knowledge. So I think there's a lot of the awakening of this is assisting me to tap into this universal knowledge, the computer of the sky. But it's also certainly been given to me as well by a download. It's also been given to me by visitations. It's been given to me by maybe a genetic memory that has come from ancestors gone. Because even scientists now are starting to realize that knowledge and information of your ancient ancestors still in the genetics of the modern era. So I may well have been an initiate of the pyramids, or I may well have been in Egypt many, many thousands of years ago, or one of my relations may well have been an initiate or in the pyramids many thousands of years ago. And their genetic memory, their genetic knowledge of those initiations, I may be able to access and tap into through a genetic linear line, which now science is now starting to realize is a possibility. So there's so many different possibilities of how this information could be coming to me. But I do think it is a mixture of several different things that are putting me into this position where, especially as well, judging by my background is in evidence gathering and finding evidence and piecing things together to tell a story. Yeah. And that sort of given me a sound foundation to take that forward into the esoteric world that rules this world. Yeah. So it is really a mixture of all of those things that have all come together in order to put me into this position where I'm coming into lots and lots of mysterious, mystical knowledge that really is only for, as the Gnostics would profess, it is for the eyes that can see and the ears that can hear that will come into this kind of knowledge. So quite evidently, I've got the eyes that can see and I've got the ears that can hear because I'm coming into this knowledge.
And you've got the experience, the 17 years of it's almost like you're in the flow of investigating, right? You've got the 10,000. You've learned that to the point where you do it by automatically. So it's probably now you're piecing it all together. What were you going to say, Darren?
Well, I was going to talk about, remember when we got to the Paradigm Symposium in 2012, John Ward was talking about how he was finding the same symbols in Egypt as he was at some cathedral in the UK. It's interesting.
Because again, the same people are writing these intrinsic messages. They're writing these coded messages throughout history. They're even doing it through into the modern day. When you look at the American hot dog, when you look at the White House, when you look at the Oval Office, when you look at Washington, D.C., the Statue of Liberty, the American independence, when you look at all of these things, it comes from Egypt. When you come across to the UK and you look at the River Thames, when you look at the Houses of Parliament, it's all Egyptian. When you look at the concept of royalty, and of course we have a royal family, it's all to do with Egypt. All the symbology is Egyptian. Even when people become knights of the realm and they become a sir, that comes from Osiris, the god of the underworld in Egypt. So all of this modern day society in your churches, in cathedrals, is all to do with the same message as the ancient Egyptians or the builders of Stonehenge, because the message is the same thing.
Yeah, yeah. So so there's the control mechanism now that's sort of being unveiled, it seems, and it's been going on for who knows how many thousands of years. So, but all the cultures and the people that put these messages in this awakening, this Christ consciousness thing, this awakening, and it could go back to before the Ice Age even. It could be, 5, 7, 10,000 years of this. It's hard for me to ask the question, but I'm trying to suss out like how were they fighting the same control mechanism back then, and they were leaving these messages, or is it
Did they know
the
some
control
shit was about to go down?
Yeah, like how long have we been suppressed compared to, or more so than they are suppressed, or are we coming out of this now because of the internet and our awareness? Or the other question would be, is it unintentional symbolism left by the control system that we're now figuring out? Do you understand where I'm going with the theme here?
I do. My take on that is that there's always been a wrestling match between the so-called elites of the world. I mean, for argument's sake, you have the female moon cults, you have the masculine sun cults, which are basically the male and feminine principle that the sun and the moon. You have all of these battles for control. When you look at really, really ancient Egypt, and you see all these Egyptian statues where they have their left foot forward, they're basically telling you that they lived under a matriarchal system of balance. And that balance is also a pinnacle in the yin and yang, in the chemical marriage of king and queen. Because without that balance, without that equilibrium, you cannot reach this level of consciousness. So you have to be a balanced vessel. And I do think that there is back then and in the modern day era. Some of them wish to tell, some of them wish to conceal, and some of them probably don't have any allegiance either way. And I think that is the same in modern day society as well. These famous monuments are a message. The Great Pyramid of Egypt, which stands 449 feet tall, but again, for reasons of consciousness, that is why it is that exact height, because that is all to do with the frequency of the violet flame and the colour violet, which is the frequency of the crown chakra.
Yeah.
That is why the Great Pyramid is 449 feet. What I've seen with the Great Pyramid is when you put a map overlay of the human head facing north, because again the pineal gland is the north gate, you will see that the likes of the King's Chamber and the Queen's Chamber mark the exact location of the master glands of the endocrine system of the third brain, and that is why certain shafts are pointed towards certain stars, like the Queen's Chamber, the pituitary gland, which is known as the star chamber of Isis, is pointed towards Sirius A. It is all to do with the star energies of that towards the pineal gland. The King's Chamber, which is Osiris, the pineal gland, points towards Orion, which is associated with the god Osiris. When you look at the other side of the pyramids, you will see that the shafts face towards what is now known as the constellation of Draco. But in Vedic astronomy, many thousands of years ago, that would be known as the cobra or the serpent, which is symbolic of the balance of opposites. And it's also the serpent is also symbolic of leaving the physical world. And the Egyptians were, through the amplification of certain mathematical frequencies, like the golden ratio, the golden mean, Fibonacci, through pi, these mathematics were put inside these monuments because they are conscious raising frequencies, 432 hertz, 528 hertz. All of these things are conscious raising frequencies, and that's why these mathematical sequences are inside these monuments of the world. And the Egyptians, through the amplification of these harmonics, were transcending from the material realm to the other world. And that is basically what they were doing as part of the initiation within the pyramids. But the Great Pyramid itself marks the exact location of the three master glands of the human third eye, which ironically, collectively, vibrates at 144 hertz, which is why there are 144,000 casing stones on the outside of the Great Pyramid, because 144 is also to do with light, to do with spiritual frequencies of light, and also the frequency of the third eye of consciousness. So all of these things are not simply just mathematical sequences. They are conscious. The 8 hertz, when you look at 5 hertz inside the King's Chamber, 5 hertz is basically the pentagram, which is realized man. When you look at the inner degrees of the pentagram, it is 108 degrees. 108 degrees in frequency is 108 hertz, which is the frequency of total knowing. So again, they were practicing this God state, this higher consciousness, and all of these monuments around the world are indicating the same message. It is an amplification tool in which they transcended their physicality, their material realm, and went to the other worlds. And that is what the monuments of the world really are.
Go ahead.
So is the U.S. the new Egypt then? Because they seem to like the U.S. is the only country that's sort of bucked the metric system and is still using these symbolic units of measurement, and they kind of are hell bent on world domination, which means they'll get to
and then freedom,
contain the sacred sites and stuff like that, and freedom.
So like, what the world domination might not have? I mean, that might not have been.
Well, having a big army, I guess, having the ability to.
Yeah, but did that happen? That might not have been part of the genesis of the states. I mean, the states was supposed to be built on.
The way I'm looking at it, the whole thing would have been by design.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, right from the fucking get go, right out of the gate.
Again, Egypt is very. I mean, somebody said to me once, "Why did this great advanced land disappear?" I said, "It didn't disappear. It's been hidden. It's been hidden in modern day society."
Ooh, like the Nazis.
Well, the Nazi, the swastika, comes from the Hindu, which is the plough in astronomy, circling Polaris, the pole star, and swastika actually means of the good. It was actually turned into a negative thing by the Nazis, but it originally came from Hindu astronomy. But America, certainly America, has all the hallmarks of being the modern day Egypt, because the majority of American presidents are related to pharaonic Egypt. Royalty, so is European royalty. It is the red carpet of the Oscar ceremony. The red carpet is symbolic of that elite royal bloodline, and the Oscar is basically the Knights Templar, who are your modern day Illuminati. So there's all these things in modern society, as I say, your White House, your Oval Office, your Washington DC, the obelisk, the domes, the White House, the president, the hot dog. It all comes from Egypt. Even the eagle comes from Egypt. And again, you can just come across the pond to the UK and you can see the exact same thing replicated in British society. Now, the River Thames was formerly known as Isis, is now known as Thames, which comes from Tamas, the dark river, which is the dark serpent Apophis, which is the dark evil, which is where we get the word devil. So the sun, Jesus, is fighting the devil each night as the sun disappears into the underworld to come up each morning on the horizon. Horus risen gives us the rising of the sun. So all of these things are intrinsic in modern day society. And when you look at Freemasonry, when you get to the third degree of Freemasonry, you can choose between the Scottish Rite, which is all things Egyptian, or the York Rite, which is Christianity or base Christianity. So a lot of these things that we see in modern day society come from the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry. The designers of the likes of Washington DC are Freemasons. The designer of London is a Freemason. Paris is full of Illuminati, Freemasonic Egyptian symbols. They have the Louvre, which is a pyramid. They have the obelisk in the center of Paris. The word Paris comes from Parisi, which means the temple of Isis. You have all of these connections, even Europa, and Colombia, the District of Columbia. They are two different names. Europa and Colombia are two different names for Isis, the Statue of Liberty, which faces Paris, Parisi, the Temple of Isis. All of modern day society is so intrinsic of ancient Egypt that this land has never died. And the re-emergence of the consciousness of humanity will be as a result of the re-emergence of the advanced knowledge of ancient Egypt and their mystery schools. So the whole of modern day society is the modern ancient Egypt.
So where are we at as far as the awakening goes then, compared to like what it was like, let's say, a couple thousand years ago? I mean, are we further along now than ever? Are we breaking through, or is it always been has it always been a faction of humanity that's awakening? I don't like using that word, but you know what I mean.
Again, what I've noticed is a more obvious, more apparent, more manifest separation between the people who haven't progressed for thousands of years, because they still hold on to the same belief systems, the same ceremonies, the same festivals, the same belief system as humans did 2, 3, 4,000 years ago. But there are breakthroughs in terms of pockets of light, if you can call it light. I don't tend to like using that word. It's sort of new agey, but for want of a better phrase, there are pockets of light where people are starting, and I've noticed that more and more people are starting to demand more truth. More and more people are starting to demand this kind of information. They are not satisfied with the explanations that they're being given.
Yeah,
So
it's
what
across the board. The narrative seems to be wrong. Like, with everything from the food we eat to the air we breathe to the ancient mysteries to archaeology to consciousness, everything seems to be just fucked. So was this why you started talking again then?
I think it was. So I mean, when I talked many years ago, and it was many years ago, I was mainly talking about my awakening and my journey up until that point. But so it felt almost empty. That like there's some kind of ingredient that was missing, and I just decided that I just didn't want to do the talks or do the circuit anymore. And as I say, sort of towards the end of last year, I started to get the feeling, the inspiration that I wanted to do that again. So it took me several months to formulate the talk, which goes on for over 3 hours if I let it run that long, or even longer.
Yeah.
Depending on where the venue is and what sort of time slot I have. Sometimes it's an hour, sometimes it's 2 hours, sometimes it's the floor is yours till the early hours of the morning. But I put all that together, and then sort of starting in January this year, I had my first talk booked. From that point, it's been sort of regular since, and I do see, because every time I do these talks, there's obviously people in the audience that know people who have venues, and they want me to go and do a talk there. So it's snowballing to where certainly in 2 weeks' time, I will be speaking in front of probably 300 people at the biggest alternative conference in the UK.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of weeks after that, I'll be talking again in the north of England at another massive UK conference, which gets me giving this kind of information to a lot more people. Outlets such as this and various radio stations give me a platform as well. It's all about reintroducing people to these ancient knowledge, this ancient knowledge of self, where the ancients believed that God lived inside them. So to know themselves was to know God. The kingdom of heaven is within you. The kingdom of God is within you. And that really is a true statement when you do understand the true, deeper meaning of what that is. Everything we could possibly want is inside us. But the system has created a fake facade where they need to speak to the priest, where they need to go to a church or a synagogue or a mosque or one of these religious buildings. They do not need to do that, because everything they could possibly need, all the tools that they could possibly need to follow in the footsteps of their Christ is within them. As soon as people start to realize this, they become very, very powerful, unslavable, completely open-minded people, and that is what the system fears the most.
Well, on the other side of that is the whole materialism and atheistic movement, which is the same result on the other extreme. Just we live in a paradigm where that's not even this extended consciousness, or this is not even a reality to people. So
Lots of people.
Yeah.
I mean, I've certainly been called, atheist and whatever. And people say to me, why do you know the existence of Christ, or why do you deny the existence of God? And what I say to them is, completely misunderstood and misrepresented. What I'm saying is, Christ doesn't exist in the way in which we've been taught.
Exactly. Yeah.
God, there is a when you've studied the fabric and the foundation of the universe, as I have, it is quite apparent there is some kind of superior mind, some kind of superior energy, a pure mathematical brilliant mind that has pieced this together. Everything in the universe follows a mathematical code, a mathematical sequence that it does not deviate from. That can only mean one thing, that something was programmed. exactly. Something somewhere has programmed these mathematical sequences, and that is from, when you look at the Holy Trinity, which is the subatomic particles of the atom. When you start looking at the human fetus, when you start looking at the human body, when you start looking at the most minute insects on Earth, when you start looking at the giant nebulas of the galaxy, everything follows a mathematical. That can only mean one thing: that something somewhere has programmed what we know as existence. That to me is what God is. And if somebody wanted me to describe what God is, certainly in sacred geometry, I would say that God is a circle, which is the symbol of infinite spirit. It is a circle whose center is everywhere and whose circumference is nowhere. It is that infinite spirit. And when you draw a circle within a circle, and you go from that circle to from the center to the circle, that becomes the radius. That comes from radios, which means the sun god or the son of God. So within sacred geometry, within the circle and the radius, you have God and Jesus in a sacred geometric context. So to me, it is basically infinite spirit, which is the non-decaying spin of the electron, which then takes us back to the atomic and the Holy Trinity. When you look at the Holy Trinity, and I say that the three subatomic particles, which is the neutron, which is the stability, which is the father, you have the proton, which absorbs photonic light, it is the sun, and you have the electron, which is the Holy Spirit. The movement of electrons gives the body electricity. That is the power of the Holy Spirit within us. When these electrons become excited and ionized, they give off what is called an electron cloud, which bears a striking resemblance to a ghost. That is the Holy Ghost. So the Holy Trinity is talking about the three subatomic particles of the atomic world. And again, that comes into the infinite spirit, the electron. That comes into Eve, which means life. The word Eve means life, talking about ionic bonding, the separating of the atom. All of it is a programmed reality, a programmed creativity. I mean, one thing, it can only lead to a supreme mind that has programmed it.
Wow. See, I think it's all a simulation.
Yeah, it's kind of.
We're just plugged into some fucking crazy video game.
So who's in this video game then? Who's the people that are pulling the wool over our eyes? Like, I mean, is it people that we don't know the names of? That are. I mean, if you talk about the Illuminati is it obvious people that we would think, or do you get into the nitty gritty about who's controlling the thing?
Well, there's various levels, there's various tiers, and there's obviously the obvious ones that we're aware of.
Yeah, like the Build-A-Burgers and all that kind of stuff.
Exactly, but the real heads of these, we don't know who they are because they're not publicly named. They are not known. They are really at the very top. But you have the likes of the Vatican, the British royal family, who are quite high. You have the likes of the Pope, and then you have the Black Pope, who are quite high. You have all of these multi-tier systems, but the people at the very top who really, really control it are not known. And unless you are sort of
How do we know it's not you?
Well, you don't. You don't. But
I mean, you are descended from a Celtic king,
that is correct. Which again comes from Pharaonic Egypt and Queen Mary Salman. But no, you can't. And the thing is that the likelihood is, if you ever stand next to them, you still won't know it's them because nobody does know who they are. So the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers, yes, they're quite high. But because we know who they are, because we can identify them, it's not them.
Yeah, that's kind of what I think too.
But they are quite high in the pecking order. But they're not the highest because they're sort of nameless. We don't know who they are.
Are the top people immortal?
Well, I was going to say, are they archons? Or I mean, is that do you subscribe to that? Is it a spiritual war at the top? I mean,
there are entities that are beyond the third dimension that are able to use certain people as vessels to enter this dimension. I know from personal experience that they walk amongst us. They are in the skies, both day and night. They are usually invisible to the human eye unless we tune into a particular frequency, which is the frequency that they're vibrating at. That's when we can see them. But they can drift in and out of our frequency spectra. So I do subscribe to the fact that they are here. They always have been here. There are certain groups that are taking a negative stance against humanity. There are groups that are taking a positive stance, and there are groups of them that are taking a neutral stance. Interested in what happens because it affects them, but in terms of assisting or not assisting, they're completely neutral. So in a universe that has a trinity of the atom, which is 3 subatomic particles, it comes in a positive, a negative, or a neutral. There are these entities that do have an influence as to if they're the ones that are really at the top and really in control. There's been many suggestions through public statements, through sort of hidden read between the line messages. That may well be the case. But again, because they are really, really at the top of the chain, we don't know who they are, or certainly we're not going to get close enough to identify them.
Without getting dead.
That is also an option in their armory.
How bad? Do you ever get worried?
I don't get worried. As I say, I've had my phone calls tapped. I've had phone boxes outside my house that is the service to my landline phone tapped with certain anomalies. I've had emails stolen. I've had radio interviews aborted by the host because they've heard non-human voices at the other end coming into the station, and they basically frightened them so much they've just said, sorry, good night, I can't interview you anymore. So,
but by the way, we would never do that to you if that happened.
Well,
that's
thank you.
that's just Graham.
Yeah.
He's fairly human.
As I say, I've had certain groups who have attempted to recruit me into their brotherhoods.
Why don't you go in and then call us back and we'll do another interview?
Yeah, absolutely. The problem with me is people have said, why didn't you say yes and go undercover? Well, I sort of wear my heart on my sleeve. I wouldn't be able to do that because I'd be too obvious. I would stick out like a sore thumb.
Yeah.
Because that's just me. I'm not one for being able to exactly. I'm not one to be able to go undercover and to be able to mix and pretend that I'm part of these brotherhoods, but I'm clearly not. Although it would be quite obvious that all I was doing would be gathering research and gathering evidence, so it wouldn't be my interest to do it in that fashion. But as I say, the very fact that they've contacted me privately by various means to invite me into these brotherhoods and tell me what I stand to gain by being members of these brotherhoods, it sort of gives you sort of an indication as to it's on the right lines, especially when they others have come through and said that it's basically accurate, it's spot on, it's very, very accurate as to the esoteric teachings of the mystery schools.
I like it.
What about your old cop friends from back in the UK? Do you keep in touch with those guys? Did they think you're wacko now or what?
I came in touch with several of them who have an open mind. Obviously, the ones that don't, the same with non-cops and whatever. They tend to just drift away from your life, from your reality.
Yeah.
And you tend to basically get a new wave of people who are on the same wavelength. So the people who are on the same wavelength, I do keep in touch with because I do like to know what's going on the inside still as well. But I do keep in touch with several of them, but not that many.
There was quite a few UK police officers and people in the public service that have UFO sightings. And I mean, there was a guy I remember 5, 6, 7 years ago. Now I'm going to forget his name. Who was writing books on that. He used to be a cop himself in the UK. You might
well be Gary Hasseltine.
That's who it is. Yeah, that's who it is.
Hasselhoff?
No, Hasseltine. Gary Hasseltine. Yeah,
Hasseltine.
yeah, and I mean, he gathered so many good cases of people like yourselves, even in uniform, having UFO sightings or getting called to them and all that. So that's
The same here, both on duty, off duty. I've even been made aware of when the police force helicopter of my force was followed by a UFO, which was recorded by onboard cameras. All the logs were restricted. Its airport base refused it access to land at the airport until this object had moved. So there's lots and lots of things happening in our skies that, again, because of restricted logs, because of the etiquette of airline pilots and whatever, these things never really come out unless they're leaked. But that is really a small minority of what's really going on out there. And there's so many people that are seeing things. When I was on night duty one night, there was quite potentially a UFO landing around us, where we'd have silhouettes in gardens, where we'd have street lights for miles, where we'd have underground explosions and manhole covers shooting through the sky. We'd be liaising with electricity boards who are basically saying, "What's going on? This is unusual." It was just kind of an eerie, we're not in control feeling, and we'd seen quite a few strange things in the skies. So there's lots and lots of synchronicity on this particular evening, and I say many calls of strange silhouettes in rear gardens, where officers were actually standing in that garden and couldn't see anything. But as soon as they moved away, the people would call and say that these silhouettes are back again. I've got intruders in the rear garden. There was nothing there, certainly on a physical level. So I was certainly involved in a potential UFO landing that evening.
Wow.
So there's lots and lots of things that are going on that the general public generally never get to know about unless they're personally involved.
Yeah. Have you been staying on that topic a little bit? Have you, do you subscribe a lot of that phenomena to secret space program kind of stuff, or breakaway civilization, black project type stuff, or would you say most of it is interdimensional or extraterrestrial? And then have you followed what's happening in the US here, where there's finally some supposed disclosure happening with media and the government acknowledging some of this phenomena?
Certainly, what I would advise people and warn people of is there are negative extraterrestrials that are dealing with above government departments, especially in America. Just be careful as to who your government discloses to you, because if it's them, that it's not in your interest. But in terms of extraterrestrials and interdimensional beings, they both exist. When I've done some research into mathematical correlation between the likes of the Sidonian city on the planet Mars and the monuments of Earth, what I've found through that research is that each of these monuments are telling us, it's almost like a cosmic satellite navigation. For argument's sake, the face on Mars, when you look at the grid vectors, when you look at the longitude and latitude location of the face on Mars, it gives you the exact location of how to find Stonehenge on Earth. When you look at the same within Stonehenge, it tells you how to find the pyramids of Egypt. The pyramids of Egypt give you the exact longitude and latitude coordinates of the Sidonian city on planet Mars. So there's also on the surface of the moon what is known as the lunar abaca, which is Egyptian obelisks that map out the three main pyramids of Giza in Egypt.
Where's that on the moon? Whereabouts is that? Is that on the southern spot of the moon, or by any chance?
I think it's close to. It's by the sort of the Sea of Tranquility, that kind of region.
Yeah. Okay.
But it's actually mapped. It's mapped out to as per the three main periods of Egypt. So you have Earth, and you have the moon, which are definite collaboration. Now that even means that it is a civilization on Earth that is able to star travel, or there are other civilizations that are having contact with earthly civilizations, because it is no possible coincidence that you could ingrain the longitude and latitude location of monuments on Earth from monuments on the Sidonian city on Mars, and vice versa. It's impossible. There has to be some kind of interplanetary collaboration there.
Wow.
Panspermia, baby, not gramspermia. One's funner. But is that an option, that we just took some ancient knowledge with us when we had to retreat from Mars, like that Val Kilmer movie where he found that weird cave at the end? Did you see that one?
Possibility. I mean, you certainly have US Marines and whatever coming out now. That
I was going to ask you about that.
What kind of validity that you can put on this, but it was saying that that there's military bases on the on Mars, on the moon. I do subscribe to that anything is possible, and I do think that we only have the likes of NASA to tell us or to believe that Mars is uninhabitable, that the moon is uninhabitable, that all of the planets of the solar system cannot be inhabited by humans. We only have their word to believe that. So why is it not possible that we can live on these planets, or people do live on these planets, and there's been some kind of teleportation or some kind of thing? A lot of the ancient cultures do mention a strange race of beings that they called the knowledge from above, who gave them mathematical sequences, who gave them this kind of knowledge that advanced in the way in which they advanced. There's also some suggestion that around about 35,000 years ago, human genetics were tinkered with in some way that took us from Homo erectus to Homo sapien, literally in evolutionary terms, overnight, which is impossible by evolution itself. So there's all these key indicators that there is some kind of connection going on, certainly in the past, and I would probably say most certainly currently, but it's more behind the scenes now than it was in them days. I think it was more open in them days than what it is now.
Graham doesn't even believe in evolution.
Yeah, I do.
Oh, you're on board
There's
now?
there's multiple theories.
Wolfen, baby.
Not that type of evolution.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I got
Do you? What do you? I got a theory about the Space Force.
Here we go.
Space Force.
Okay, let's hear your theory.
So, I think Trump is trying to get a handle on disclosure. Like, I feel like there's a deep state conflict going on about disclosure. And I mean, it could be at multiple levels, multiple organizations, secret organizations, sort of secret Space Force type stuff. No, not secret Space Force, secret space program, you know. But I feel like there's one side of the deep state that's coming with this this disclosure about, here's the government's been researching UFOs. Here's some evidence, like, trickling out stuff for you. And then the other side of the deep state, and Trump comes out and starts talking about the Space Force, actually trying to get a bit of a handle and maybe controlling the message. No. I'm just talking about disclosure. It's a fight over disclosure between them. I mean, if one discloses, then it's going to ruin the other one's access to technology.
We're getting drug into it by our handler.
Do you know what I'm trying to get at? I'm not really articulating it very well, but I feel like there's it's a deep state involvement there.
So does that mean there's two Illuminatis?
As I was saying earlier, I mean, there's always this power struggle between the sides of duality. That there are those that wish to tell us. Many Hollywood movies tell us certain things, but they're doing it encrypted, so we have to work it out. There are many trains of thought, but I do believe that there are internal power struggles between two things. So sometimes these power struggles enter the public arena and we become aware of them.
Uh-huh.
But there are certainly those that want and those that don't. In terms of disclosure, as I say, I would certainly be very wary as to what is disclosed, because I don't necessarily think it's going to be a positive thing for humanity. But there are the ones out there that do have a positive intent.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of who's disclosed to us, whether that will ever be disclosed, personally, I don't need my government to tell me what I already know exists.
Yeah.
Some people wish to dot the I's and cross the T's. Some people need an official announcement to begin to believe and to comprehend that there can be something other than ourselves. But a lot of people don't need that kind of officialdom, because I don't believe what the government tells me in sort of everyday life. So I'm certainly not going to believe what it tells me in relation to extraterrestrials and things like that. In terms of the space program, it was something that Ronald Reagan was talking about in the 1980s, about the being attacked by an outside force that would unify the world governments and things.
Exactly.
I personally think that we already have the capacity and we already have some kind of space weapons already up there. I do think that a lot of these UFOs that I've seen and a lot of UFOs that are being seen around the world are our own sort of back engineered military secret projects. I really do think they are. But nevertheless, I've seen literally a multitude of craft of all different sizes in different circumstances, at different distances and whatever, making different kinds of maneuvers. What I can't say is who was piloting them. What I can say is there are things in our skies that we're not being told about. So why are we not being told about them? And that really is more of a crux of matter. But in terms of space wars and things like that, we already have that kind of capability.
Yeah, I would agree.
I would tend to agree too. Wow, that time just flew by. Michael, do you have anything else we need to get to before we start wrapping it up?
No, again, I think what I would advise people to realise is that all of these famous people that are idolised and worshipped, all of these ancient monuments of the past that are visited by millions of tourists every year who have no real idea as to what they're visiting, look into them because they have a deep secret. That deep secret is your own potential, your own God state, your own connection to that universal knowledge. The vacuum space is meant to be a vacuum. A vacuum is basically the fabric of a vacuum is the tetrahedron. The pyramid tetrahedron is the model of consciousness. So therefore, everybody is connected by the vacuum of space, by an awareness, by consciousness. Every living thing on this planet and in the universe is 99.9999% vacuum. So therefore, we are mostly connected through an awareness. You are all Jesus Christ. You are all Mary and Joseph. You are all Cain and Abel. You are all Noah, Moses, Jonah. You are all of these characters. They never existed as individuals. They are metaphors. It is each and every one of you. And once you start to realize the greatness of your potential and what you are really capable of, you are no longer controllable. That is what the system is trying to prevent you from ever knowing. They will deny you access to the forbidden fruit of the tree of knowledge because they do not want you to be equal to them. Learn, research, and question everything.
Yeah.
Bingo bango.
Yeah, well said.
What should they read first? What should they research first? Where's a good starting off point for a newbie?
I would say looking to the self and many of the spiritual ancient practices of self and how they believe in self and how again the likes of these characters like Buddha is really talking about consciousness, is really talking about the harmonic keys to the universe, to the God frequencies, to the 432 hertz. That's why Tibetan singing bowls are tuned at 432 hertz. That's why there's 432 statues of Buddha at the Bora Buddha temple in Indonesia, because it relates to the God frequency. So learn about self, learn about frequencies, learn about your own potential, because that is the message that the whole of the ancient world has been telling us for many thousands of years, but we just haven't until now picked up on it.
What about a couple of your books? Your books that people could start with too.
Certainly, I've got quite a few books out there. I've got a free ebook going out at the moment, which is free on Amazon up until today, which is called "The Real Identity of Christ: Secrets of the Codex Vaticanus," which has some of the things that I've been saying today. The ancient code of serpent fire, which goes a lot into ancient Egypt and Stonehenge and all of these ancient cultures. And I've also got other books such as the Secrets of the Pyramids, A Message for Humanity, which are the three most current things that I've written, which are the most up to date as to where I am. So that's probably a good place to start. Yeah,
and maybe can you plug the conferences you're going to see? You're going to go to briefly as well.
We'll send some Grimericans, hopefully.
Yep, certainly. Well, it's all UK based at the moment. Hopefully that will extend at some point. But the next one is in a place called Glastonbury, which is almost like a spiritual centre of the UK. Yep. And that is the biggest UK alternative conference in the UK itself. And then after that, I'm at a conference called the Probe, the Phoenix Probe Conference, which is in Blackpool, which is in northwest England. And again, that is a big conference, an alternative conference. In between that, I've got a few more minor sort of talks, but they're on my website, so people can see on the events page when I'm going to be and when I'm going to be speaking.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So UK Posse, get out there.
Yeah,
Go see
awesome.
Michael. Tell him where you found him.
Yeah, and we'll link to all that stuff in the show notes as well. And yeah, it's been a great chat. I love these talks that are put together by listeners. I mean, sometimes they recommend the best guests. So listeners, get your requests in here. And yeah, thanks for coming on and talking about all that.
Yeah, thanks for reaching out.
Now, thank you, Baltham. I won't name the person that introduced me to you in case I don't have permission to, but you know who you are. So
You can
so
dox that motherfucker. It's okay.
Exactly. so thank you to that individual for introducing me.
Yeah,
Right
thanks so
on.
much.
And yeah, Finn, if you do want us to know your name, then like tweet us or something and we'll give you a shout out.
Yeah.
Okay, Michael, well, I know it's very late over there, so we will let you get to sleep.
Thank you
Thanks
very
for
much
staying up
again.
late. Come back
Thanks for the
anytime.
platform.
Yeah.
I will do. Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
And that was our chat with Michael Feeley.
Wow.
Just kind of Feeley. Sorry. Yeah, he just kind of popped up on Facebook.
Freely and
Did you?
all the
Just
time.
because a Feeley guy. Yeah, he kind of popped up on the Facebook page, reached out through Facebook. It was just, it all happened fast, too.
It was a real fast one. Like,
Yeah, 2 weeks ago, bang, bang, boom, and here we are.
Usually we have guys scheduled a month or 6 weeks in advance, and this was like a couple weeks. Yeah, it's that was really interesting. That was good. Another one of these, another one of these kind of something happens, downloads, starts researching, puts all this together, very eloquent about it. I mean, it blows me away how people put all this stuff together. But I really feel like might be uncovering some symbolism there.
All the body part stuff is crazy. I'd have to get that new ebook, go through it for free.
Yeah.
I have to go get that now.
And a lot of the stuff about Jesus and all the metaphors there too. It kind of starts making sense. Maybe these weren't people. Like maybe it's just somebody, writing stories and talking about higher consciousness.
It's weird how a lot of the past shows have kind of had that overarching thing of self.
Yeah, totally. I know. In the end, what does he say? Work on yourself. Look into yourself.
Fuck.
Like,
can't do it anymore.
I was going to ask him, well, how do you do that? Meditate or yoga? Like, I mean, obviously,
I could send you some
a bunch
books.
of different ways, but yeah, we'll talk about that.
Fucking A. Yeah, big thanks to Michael for coming on. Of course, guys, do check out grimerica.ca/support and sign up for a weekly, a monthly, or a yearly subscription if you can, or sign up for a Patreon. There's about 30 different levels of Patreon you can sign up for. That's all the same. We don't evaluate our supporters by the amount of money they give. Everyone is the same if they just support. They also get access to the Black Budget feed. And, that's the model that allows us to just have someone you never heard on. Maybe some people in the UK have, but most of the people, I've never heard of the guy, and he can come on through the Facebook and be on the show within a couple of weeks. And, the more corporate you get, the less control you have over that.
Yeah.
So we'd like to keep it just 2 dudes and you guys.
Yep. 3 dudes.
Support the show. 3 dudes.
Including Brody over here.
Brody's coming on. Yeah. So grimerica.ca/support, guys, if you can, when you can, and do all the stuff in the show notes too, because that all helps too. Sign up for the newsletter. Blah, blah, blah. All right, motherfuckers. Thanks for listening, and we will see you next week.
Honey, babe, you left behind the flowers I picked for you. Look at what you do to me. Look at what you do to me. I'm a wreck, and I'm on my knees. Wilson flowers, and a tissue book worth of ancient memories. See, we're running away. Left us stranded, we're playing romanticized versions of you. Look at what you do to me. Treading water in the middle of the sea. Now shipwreck. You're on a beautiful beach, standing in a seashell. Greek mythological lifted that curse. You can go ahead and look in your purse. You might find money, honey, but you won't find love. Should've quit you a long time ago and left your paganistic church. Found a love where I would never need to rehearse. Where I would never need to rehearse. Quit you a long time ago. Left your paganistic church. Found a love where I would never need to rehearse. Never need to rehearse.
Supported the show, I'd be less sick of podcasts.
Sending out good vibes. Good vibes. Good vibes. Good vibes. Good vibes.
Underneath breaths of deep gratitude and prayers for guidance and protection, and put on a didgeridoo and shamanic drumming track, shivers or vibrations and stuff like that. Underneath breaths of deep gratitude and prayers for guidance and protection, and put on a didgeridoo and shamanic drumming track, shivers or vibrations and stuff like that. Underneath breaths of deep gratitude and prayers for guidance and protection, and put on a didgeridoo and shamanic drumming track, shivers or vibrations and stuff like that.
If more of you supported the show, I'd be less sick of podcasts. Grimerica/support.